water. As we go through Twitter and Facebook and all of these social media sites, we are seeing just homes where water at this point is completely coming up to the roofs. Like all you can see is the roof line at this point.
And I think with all the amount of rain we've had, we're going to see more images like this coming in. All right, we also have some videos, some pictures from Bradenton police that just came into our newsroom. Check this video out. This is in the Bradenton downtown area. You can see the winds, strong winds, and oh, there you see the Green Bridge behind and Twin River, or the marina right there, excuse me.
Right, where the Riverwalk is. We're going to work on getting more video of that area because Bradenton police just posting some more detailed video of how the boats are faring there. But as we can clearly see, because this one was posted just not too long ago, the winds are starting to pick up in Manatee and Sarasota County, and we're really starting to see the stronger gusts and squalls. Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan, as Ian gets closer and closer to us, how strong and how fast are these winds getting at this point? Bob?
Just to give you an idea, I just got a report at the Sarasota Bradenton Airport, a 70-mile-an-hour wind gust. Now, normally we're going to issue severe thunderstorm warnings when we get up to 60 miles an hour. So this is a severe thunderstorm all across parts of the Sun Coast right now. And you can see this is the band that's expanding, that's bringing the torrential rains now. We are in the eye as far as Cayo Costa goes and into the southern portions near Rotunda. Actually, Rotunda and Placida getting hit hard by some heavy rainfall. That increased lightning. Fort Myers, just getting reports out of Fort Myers Beach. Been there several times. The water, the storm surge has reached the first story of all the buildings there on Fort Myers Beach. So you can imagine what's happening, and it's not over. Get a look at this. You see, here's Naples. This is all onshore flow right here. So this is that west wind I talked about that's on the backside. So at first the storm pushed it into Fort Myers and Charlotte Harbor, and we're seeing that in Charlotte Harbor now, and it's not over yet because once it pushes it in, it can't get out. And then we got that west wind. So that turns around. I've seen it before in other situations where you think it's over because the storm is moving further to the north, and it's not. It can be delayed up to hours as that flooding goes. So once again, a big problem with storm surge. This is going to be recorded as one of the highest storm surges, I think, ever recorded with a storm along west central Florida. In fact, along maybe the whole state. I know with Hurricane Andrew, it got up to 18 feet. It was in a small area just south of Miami, Biscayne Bay there. Again, Englewood, we're going to stop it there and just show you that tremendous rainfall that's occurring right now, and torrential rains and flooding going on there. And these are all, as Mike said, hurricane symbols, wind reports. This is a storm surge report. I don't know if we can get any information on that. We'll see. Again, we'll query that and see if we can get what that actually is at this point. That's it. Punta Gorda, they're reporting the, again, storm surge, showing storm surge levels up to the first story roofs there. And it's not going to stop in that area as a result of that onshore flow. So we'll clear that out, move it up the road a little bit, and show you what's happening in Inglewood right now and also into Venice. So we don't want to leave them out. In Northport, look out. I want to mention you all because you're all going to get some significant problems here with the rivers and streams already flooded in the Horse Creek and the Peace River. All that streaming down into Charlotte Harbor. It has nowhere to go. It has absolutely nowhere to go because of that storm surge. So what happens, it backs up. And where it backs up into Northport. It backs up in and around Port Charlotte. And on top of that, you've got storm surge. So flooding is a big concern throughout that region. And although you may have made it through this part of the storm so far, it's not even over for a long time down here as this continues. We see the backside of it come in and bringing more rainfall and heavy rain. Now, the rain has been rather moderate to heavy at times in Manatee County. It's only going to get worse as we'll, again, show you this motion, and we'll put it into motion and show you that it's moving very slowly right now. You can see it. There is some progress to the northeast, but it's only moving at 9 miles an hour. So that means repeated storms, one after another, training across Northport into Inglewood and Venice at this juncture. And then up to the north we go. We'll move it up into Manatee County, and it's not over again in that area. We'll zoom out a little bit. We'll go to show you what's happening up here into Oh, again, Parrish, Wauchula, getting some of that banding feature going on there. You can see that over the northern portions of Manatee County into Parrish and Ellenton, all the way out into Anna Maria Island. But right now, the storm surge, not a big deal on Longboat Key. But once this storm moves further inland, we're going to see those winds turn to the north and then to the northwest, and that's when it will start to pile some water on some of those beaches into Longboat Key and Anna Maria. I'm going to get a graphic made up and see what the projections are with this last advisory for storm surge into Manatee County. A lot of people on the telephone, and they're answering the calls in the newsroom, wanting to know when it's going to have an impact on your place. When's the strongest winds that can be anticipated for places like Sarasota or into Bradenton or Parrish? Well, again, the next few hours, it's happening in Venice now. The worst part of this storm is in Venice right now. It's going to continue there for at least the next hour.
Wanted to update you quickly here on some of the things that you're seeing on your screen. First, top left corner, that's the satellite imagery of Hurricane Ian. That's the infrared satellite imagery. On the bottom left side of your screen, you are actually seeing a live feed from the International Space Station flying over Hurricane Ian right now. And then, of course, we are continuing our coverage of Hurricane Ian from Sarasota, Florida, our station WWSB, as they continue to provide wall-to-wall coverage of Hurricane Ian.
2:51, they reported a wind gust at 70 miles an hour. Again, I'm checking in nearly 70 miles an hour at Sarasota Bradenton Airport, 63 knots. So yes, 70 miles an hour. Nearly hurricane-force wind gusts there at the Sarasota Bradenton Airport.
81 miles per hour in Venice.
It's 81 in Venice, just last gust. Mike is telling me right now he's monitoring this, and we're going to go to him in a bit. 81 mile-an-hour wind gust reported in Venice right now, and that's only going to get worse as we move through the rest of the evening. The timing, as we said, Venice is getting the hit hardest right now, and will stay that way for the next hour.
All right, I want to take this picture live here from the International Space Station just for a few minutes as they are currently flying over Hurricane Ian as we speak. And you can clearly see, look at the eye of Hurricane Ian from their vantage point. You can see the cloud structure. You can almost see the thing spinning in real time as these clouds swirl around this powerful hurricane. Category 4 hurricane, winds of 155 miles per hour, moving off to the north-northeast at about 9 miles per hour. The current pressure is 937 millibars. That's the latest update that we have from the National Hurricane Center out of Miami, Florida. And again, just want to remind you of what you're watching right now live is a picture or live video stream from the International Space Station flying over Hurricane Ian right now. Of course, they're switching from several different cameras aboard the space station. But you can see this, there's just the size of Hurricane Ian from that vantage point. There's, again, a look right now live from the ISS of the eye of Hurricane Ian as they are flying over. Looks like they are flying, from west to east, it appears, over the top of the hurricane. And again, just in real time, you can almost see the clouds swirling because of how fast those winds are moving inside of that hurricane as it makes its approach right overhead right now. We are seeing that live here on Local News Live from the International Space Station. Another camera, again, showing just the huge size of the storm. And there's a close-up, look at that, right down at the eye of Category 4 Hurricane Ian, as it is officially made a landfall on the western peninsula of Florida near Fort Myers, as well as the Cape Coral area. It is continuing to move off to the north and northeast at roughly 9 miles per hour, so it will continue to venture inland over the next several hours today, bringing with it, unfortunately, catastrophic damage. Hurricane force winds, Category 4 hurricane force winds, I should say. There's another close-up view of the eye. Look at the right side of your screen right there. That is actually a thunderstorm that is a little bit taller than the rest of the clouds all around it, is what you're seeing right there, that puffy-looking formation that's currently moving closer to the center of your screen. And another look here at Hurricane Ian from the orbit of the International Space Station, coming to you live right now from NASA at this point. All right, so that is the flyover from the International Space Station of Hurricane Ian. Want to send you back out to Sarasota, Florida with WWSB and continuing wall-to-wall coverage there. We will, of course, keep this up on your screen in a smaller box for as long as we have the feed.
Jet ski on Sarasota Bay, so there's so much danger here.
Risking it.
Right.
One of the things, mandatory evacuation, one of the things that means is if you had the mandatory evacuation and you didn't leave, the time has passed and you're on your own for 72 hours, maybe 5 days, maybe 6 days. If you have a medical emergency, nobody's going to be able to come help you out. You're not going to be able to be evacuated. You're not going to be able to be saved. If you're one of those people who the roof comes off of your house, nobody's coming to help you because emergency management is not going to put their people in harm's way to risk their lives in this incredibly dangerous situation. And frankly, we're just now getting to the worst part of the storm, certainly in Charlotte County and some of southern Sarasota County. And that's just going to get worse in other parts of the Suncoast as well over the next few hours.
Right. Mike, you're absolutely right. The South Sarasota County, that's the reason why that warning came out, is that eye wall is now passing through Inglewood, Northport, Warm Mineral Springs. We're talking wind gusts possibly as high as 115 miles an hour and sustained hurricane force winds. So, folks, if you're still able to watch us down there in South Sarasota County, you are going to see this eye wall stay with you for at least, get this, the next, I would say 2 hours in some cases. So this is a constant hammering. I know with Andrew, there were 5 hours time of hurricane force winds in some of the homes south of Miami back in 1992. Venice, you're in that high wind warning too. You're actually in the eye wall. The eye itself looks to have made landfall, and I'm sure they're busy with other things determining exactly where the land that it moved over is located. We'll find that out, obviously, in the days to come, but it certainly looks like Sanibel Island, Cayo Costa, well, it may be the same place that Charlie moved over. And the eye now is moving into Punta Gorda or close to it, so look out. You're going to get that calmness, which is really quite eerie. You step out, you can almost look up at times and see the sun shining. I know I've only been in the eye once, and that was in a plane where it was beautiful up above us, and below us the waves were up to 50 feet high, and I can imagine those waves are similar in Charlotte Harbor. And that's another thing. You add to the fact that you're going to get a storm surge, you're also going to get the battering waves, the wave action that continues to undermine structure. And we told you in Fort Myers Beach, they're already seeing the water. That's the storm surge up to the first level floors. We'll take it up a little higher. And I know, Mike, you've got something here in a minute. Let me move it up just to show you Manatee County. People are talking about when is it going to hit them? Well, I can tell you right now, you're getting some big wind. Sarasota just had that, you said 80 down in Venice, and I said 70 at the Sarasota Bradenton Airport. It's with that band right there that's moving through. So now Bradenton, Palmetto, Ellington, getting some of those strong winds at this point, Mike. So it's not over any stretch. Going to continue to take you through it as we go. And it looks like we will see excessive amount of rainfall still. And the flooding concern for me, Mike, if I'm not mistaken, will be pretty much right there in Venice and Inglewood and Northport for the time being. That's where the heaviest rainfall is.
Exactly. In fact, I'm looking at a rainfall report in Venice of 7.66 inches of rain just for today. I live in Manatee County, kind of overlooking the bay. I just got a text from my wife. Power is still on there. In fact, she says, doing great. She is a bit of an optimist, but yeah, she says doing great up there in Manatee County for the time being. But as Bob just pointed out, some of the heavier bands are just now moving in and heading toward Bradenton. Here's some of the airport reports right now. The wind gusts at Venice, 81 miles per hour. That's one of the most recent ones. The steady winds at 55 miles per hour. There's still room for these winds to pick up because the steady winds will get up to that point where they are hurricane force. So we're talking 75 mile per hour, steady winds, possibly higher as well. And the wind gusts, of course, considerably higher than that. Take it on to our next one. Let's see. Okay, there we go. My computer is with me now. At Punta Gorda, the wind gusts at 92 miles per hour. Winds out of the east, steady winds at 61 miles per hour. I'm just looking at a rainfall report here. Boy, I'm not sure whether or not to believe this one or not. There's one that says 32 inches. That seems excessively high since most of them are around 5 or 6 inches. So I think we'll disregard that one for the moment. Next one here is Fort Myers. They're having 83-mile-per-hour wind gusts, the steady winds at 58 miles per hour. And then at SRQ, right now the wind gust at 72 miles per hour. This is the kind of level that knocks down trees. And of course, as the ground gets wetter and wetter, we have saturated ground. It's easier for those trees to go over in these kinds of winds. And we're in this for hours, many, many hours. We are in this for maybe 12 hours worth of these incredibly intense winds, and they're going to get stronger over the next few hours as well. One other point I want to make about don't go out. We've mentioned that many, many times. You don't want to go out to walk in through this as well. 2 years ago when we had Hurricane Ada ride up the coast, Bob had said something at that time that really stuck with me. When you've got standing water, let's say you've got 2-3 feet of standing water, and you're thinking, well, I can walk through that. Well, there are snakes that go in that water, and Bob's the expert. I'll let him expand more on that a little bit. But I don't like snakes biting me in the water. It's not a good thing. I may have moved from the north, but I know that much. So, yeah, bear that in mind, too. Don't walk through the water. Don't drive through the water. And really, you shouldn't be out at all. I mean, to be on a jet ski, I still am reeling from Rebecca saying that we had that shot of somebody out on their jet ski. It's amazing. Stay inside. Where you are right now is where you should be for the next 24 hours. Don't think about going anywhere else at this point. Rebecca, Narisa?
It's called shelter in place for a reason, for your safety. And to jump on that about jet skiing, I'm reading that a lot of people are getting out and TikToking. We know we all love to TikTok and get action of the storm, but now is not the time. Safety is first. They're live streaming. They're going rogue.
Oh my goodness.
You know, you may feel like you're a hero and you're sharing all this, but you're putting your life at risk. So we're not up here for nothing. We're not exaggerating. This stuff is happening. We are in it.
And these winds are strong. You know, you guys are talking about, how we're starting to feel some of those bands even stronger. And people think because it's hitting further south of us that you're not going to see the damage and the danger to life. But I'm getting text messages as we speak now from my neighbors who are telling me my tree in my front yard just got uprooted, and we live in the Parish Ellington area. So it only takes these strong squalls.
I'm sure you're mentioning the TikTok thing. I'm sure there are some people doing TikToks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, plenty. It's all over.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like the Weather Channel people who they're hanging onto a pole. Oh,
it's no joke.
Doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
Don't do that. I am not stupid enough to do that. Bob, I know, is not stupid enough to do that. We're in the studio. John's going to sleep. We're in the studio talking where it's safe. Don't go out and do a TikTok.
Not worth it. There's a time for TikTok.
I always talk about that story too. These reporters that go out and do that kind of stuff. We don't do that here because we need our reporters to report after the story. After the storm moves on through. And you guys can see some of the pictures and photos. Obviously, they have cameras now everywhere that you can come watch and see the damage and destruction. I mean, that's basically it. It's more of a showcase thing than anything. We give you the information here so you can use it to become more informed and protect yourself against this, again, devastating storm. I just got word, by the way, you guys, real quickly. The landfall, the exact same location, Cayo Costa, that Hurricane Charlie made landfall in 2004. Wow. Which is pretty weird. You think about it, 2 Category 4 hurricanes hitting the same exact spot, making landfall in 2004, and now again this time.
Bob, you were talking about Charlie. We're seeing, I don't know if you've seen some of these visuals circulating on social media. The accuracy, though, it's always great to talk to our chief meteorologist. We've seen that Charlie appears to fit the whole storm inside the eye of Ian. Is that accurate?
Absolutely accurate. In fact, John mentioned it this morning. He said you could probably put 4 Charlies in the entire size. Charlie was a very tightly wound system, only about 10 to 15 miles wide, the eye. And outside of it, there wasn't anything like you're seeing here. We hardly had a 40-mile-an-hour gust at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport when Charlie made and roared ashore into Charlotte Harbor, the same place as a major hurricane Ian moved on in. So,
hey, Bob, I have a question for you. Do you think that the name Ian could get retired after this?
It will be. Oh,
It
yeah,
will be.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's always the ice storm, too, right? I mean,
Right.
Ivan's been retired.
Ida.
That's right, Ivan.
Ida.
Ida, yep, absolutely,
Yeah.
Ida.
Goodness, yeah.
This will be the 13th I-named storm that'll get retired. And the I-named storm, there are more of those than any other of the letters of the alphabet.
Wow.
No, we should have known when they said Hermine developed out in the Atlantic that we were going to get the storm because it got named I. So once again, Hurricane Center just cleaning up a little bit, saying the landfall was into Cayo Costa, which is south and southwest of Punta Gorda, Florida.
So many people right now, Bob and Mike and Nerissa, are just sheltering in place and doing what's right, and that goes for one Nokomis resident.
Right.
Jace Harper has their story as they share their experience with us and how they're riding out this storm.
This is the scene between Highway 41 and I-75 in Nokomis. Spencer Ansley and his family prepared all day yesterday for this moment. Howling winds and buckets of rain slamming his neighborhood. He says even though the days leading up to the storm were forecasted to move north, he knew he should be prepared anyway. He describes what he's able to see out his window as Ian makes its way to shore.
Lots of wind. Like if I look out my back window right now, there are trees bending, at a 90-degree angle almost. Lots of rain. Thankfully, we still have power right now, but it's been flickering on and off for about the last 10 minutes or so. But it's just nerve-wracking. I mean, you see this big system that just keeps moving slowly towards you, and it's kind of crazy. I mean, I've never had an experience like this in my life. So
Ansley says this has been a great lesson about hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. Jace Harper, ABC7, your local station.
We are getting lots of video coming
yeah.
in, lots of pictures. We want to, tell you about our Share It tab. Just go on mysuncoast.com because we're getting a lot of images. We know we just told you don't go out in it, but if you're like at your house, I guess that's okay if it's safe. The problem is that you have trees coming down, flying branches, and it doesn't seem like if it's, with heavy wind, that can do some damage. It could hurt you, put you in the hospital. And again, as we said, there is nobody to help you at this point. You can't really call 911
Exactly.
and have somebody come out and help you. So it's every man for themselves right now. So you have to be careful. So when we're sharing this video, take care, be careful when you do it close to your home. Beware of, even some people haven't put away their lawn furniture. That's one thing that you're supposed to be doing. Lawn furniture can be very dangerous.
Yes. Let's get to Northport and Heron Creek.
Oh,
Nerissa, check this out.
That looks like we are definitely in it. If you are in denial, this is what's happening right now. This is video submitted to mysuncoast.com via the Share It tab. This is in Northport. Did we say Heron Creek?
The Heron Creek neighborhood.
Heron Creek neighborhood. Look, that wind is wild. The palm trees are going off. Look at the water in the back.
Yeah,
that looks like a safe place to take video. They're probably inside their house looking out, and you can see you don't have to go out in it to get dramatic video. Just look out your window and shoot towards there. So dangerous conditions all around. If you have been in denial about being in a storm, being in a hurricane, we are in it. We are in it, folks. So take it seriously.
That we are, and the reason we got this from Norma Schreiner is because she decided to send it very easily on mysuncoast.com via the Share It tab. It's so easy. It's right here on our website. Just click right there at the top of the screen. Share it. You can add your media, photos, pictures, any of it. We want to know how you guys are bracing for this storm, what you're seeing in your own backyards. So please send it to us.
All right, let's get back to Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan because he's got more to tell us.
You guys mentioned that track. I got it right here showing Hurricane Charlie and Ian. I'm going to extend this a little bit further. Fairly similar path again with Charlie back in 2004, striking, by the way, on Friday the 13th. Right into the same place that Ian is going right now. Just in to the ABC7 First Alert weather, we now have a flash flood warning, meaning it's happening right now. That was just issued by the National Weather Service. Experiencing the flash flooding include Northport, Sarasota, Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, Myakka River State Park, Lake Sarasota, Gulf Gate Estates, Southgate Ridge, Warm Mineral Springs, Venice Gardens, and Gator Creek Estate. Right now, that is a flash flood warning, meaning flooding is going on right now, and we're talking 3 to 6 inches of rain has fallen just within the last few hours there since just a few whiles ago. Amount of 3 to 6 inches possible in the warned area. Again, we're going to see about 3 to 6 more inches of rain. That would make over a foot of rainfall, and that's what we were kind of projecting. 10 to 15 isolated areas could see 20 to 30 inches. I think 20 is reasonable, but boy, this is going to just be going over the same area repeatedly. And in Northport, I-75, flooding going on there. We'll go ahead and stop the map and show you what's happening with that. As far as the advisories go, you can see there's the area we're talking about. I'll move this just a little bit and show you that there's another little warning right here. We'll query this Inglewood all the way up into South Sarasota, right there near Nokomis and Osprey, Palmer Ranch, Gulf Gate Estates, all into that problem of flash flooding. That means significant flooding going in there. Additional 6 inches of rainfall as that system moves to the northeast. We're talking about Ian. It's going to continue to just bring showers and thunderstorms repeatedly over the same area. So the National Weather Service has now issued that flash flood warning for southwestern Charlotte County. And we're talking about Manatee County in west central Florida. And also Sarasota County, obviously, here in southwest Florida. The advisories, again, are in effect and will stay in effect. And you can see the rivers and streams are all at bankful. These are going to continue to funnel down into Northport and Venice, where extreme flooding. Now, if you don't know it, you think it's the winds that are the most life-threatening when it comes to hurricanes. In actuality, it's not. It's the water. In two respects, the storm surge actually causes more risk, has more risk to your safety and life than the winds. Also, flooding, freshwater flooding. In fact, freshwater flooding kills more people than the storm surge, because most of the people get out of the way of the storm surge, but flooding freshwater, people are still inland and they see their ponds raising, or some of the rivers and streams start to rise and cause the flash flooding concern that we're seeing right now. We're going to detail that map a little bit. I'm sure meteorologist Mike Modrick has more on that, but you can see that center starting to expand too. And look at where all the rain is. Not here, not to the right in Collier County or Lee County. It's here into Charlotte, Sarasota, spreading into southeast Manatee County. All this, as we'll put the map into motion and show you that the storm is actually moving to the northeast right now, and that is not going to move away much at all. So, boy, it is just going to be torrential. This is where we're going to see the potential, anyway, I think, of 15 to 20 inches of rain right there near Venice and near Nokomis, as well as into Osprey. We'll zero in on that and show you where the rain has been the most fierce. On top of the rain that you're getting here in Inglewood and in Northport and Port Charlotte, you're getting the hurricane-force wind gusts there. So we're not going to hear a lot out of there yet, but we are getting video. We appreciate all the video that you guys are sending in through the Share It tab at the top of our mysuncoast.com or right through your mobile app. And I do like the shots, Nerissa and Rebecca, where they actually shoot it from outside or inside their house through their glass, which I hope is hurricane-protected glass.
Right.
Don't go out, out into that situation, because I'll tell you, I know stories about people thinking they can make a break and stay out for a little bit to get something done, and sure enough, they get injured or possibly even worse than that. So keep that in mind.
Thank you, Chief. Can we just review what shelter in place means? It means go into a small interior room. Stay away from windows. That's probably the most dangerous, because if winds knock out your window, I mean, you're going to get the glass, obviously, on you. Close and lock your windows and doors. Turn off your fans and AC. Keep your pets inside for obvious reasons. You want to keep them safe. They're probably, I know my pets are getting, my kitties are getting nervous. They're meowing a lot. You know, you got to give them those pets some extra love. They sense these things. So they need help. The bathtub should be filled with water. And keep listening, obviously, to radio. We also are phone bank. If you have questions, you can always, we keep showing the phone bank is on standby. ABC7 phone bank 941-552-3127. They can answer your questions if you missed something here. But we're pretty much on for the duration to help you guys out.
And you're our eyes and ears out there. You're taking a look right now at the phone bank. We're waiting for you to call. That was what Nerissa was just talking about. That phone number is there on your screen. 552-3127. But we want to really show you the viewer video that you're sending into us on that Share It tab. So let's get to it right now. This one was captured here by Josephine Madrid. If we can pull that up. Do we have it there in the control room? Yes, we do, on that Ring camera. See the wind and see the rain there as Hurricane Ian was just getting started in that area, knocking down the fence. Let's wait here as we watch and you're going to see as this fence gets knocked down. This is not too far from the Legacy Trail near Weber in that area. But it looks like this viewer, Josephine, left some of her potted plants, Nerissa, out there. Not far from that area, we're seeing some major winds. So.
That's the kind of stuff that's dangerous. You leave your patio furniture out, even those plants, you know, a pot can go flying. I mean, we're talking, you know, heavy winds. So here, let's look at some other video here. This is a video share from Benderson Park area. Lots of rain. The palm trees are going back and forth. Winds really ripping through. This is captured by viewer, I like this name, T-Beach.
I love that too.
T-Beach, you go T-Beach.
Look at those. You got to bend in the wind like the palm trees, right? They are so resilient, and we're seeing a lot of those trees that are really withstanding these winds, but then there are the ones that are uprooting, just like the one in my front yard. I'm going to try and get a video of that. There's a photo actually from a viewer that shows a tree that had fallen. Let's pull that one up for you if we can. And unfortunately, when that happens, it can end up on a vehicle. And that is not the situation you want to see. Are we taking a live look? Right, let me talk to my producer. Is this a live look of Cortez Bridge? What are we looking at, guys? Okay, so these are actually live pictures we're seeing right now of Cortez Bridge.
There's the tree.
That
can happen right now. Right. This is the kind of weather we're in. So
this is on someone's home.
You know,
so scary to see.
Outside in the parking lot, we're like, keep our cars away from trees. You know, it's because you don't know which ones are going to go down like that. You look at the tree and say, oh, that's pretty stable. Not in this situation.
Right. That was from Morgan Lynch. Thank you so much for sending us in. We're hoping that everybody is safe, right? Because we don't see any plywood or any shutters on that home at this point, but this is just how strong these wind gusts are at this point, and that's why we're seeing these public alerts coming and these messages coming onto our phones right now.
Yeah, there's tree damage, I guess, all the way through Oak Lawn. Say it again. We're talking about Oak Run Lane. So if you know that neighborhood, that's an area. And we're looking at pictures right now. There's a car. There's an example of what I was just talking about. The trees going on your car. You're not going to be happy. So check where your car is parked. Maybe you need to move it. And if you're seeing the wind blowing and that tree swaying back and forth, probably a good idea, if it's safe, to go out and get in that car and move that car.
Right. This part of town, we're being told, is off of Lockwood Ridge, north of Talavast. That is in Sarasota. And we're just really getting some more visuals here of that home and seeing how it's crashed through the windows there on the second floor. The scary part about this is the storm and the winds are going to continue. And once these trees have broken through the windows, to imagine the wind coming through, Nerissa, and what that can cause as far as pressure in the house. As we can imagine, these homes are probably dealing with power outages as well if these trees are coming down on power lines. Mike Modrick is our expert on that today.
Yes, I've been dealing with the power outages throughout the day. When we first went on, the three of us, at 2 o'clock, we had just under 500,000 power outages. Now we are at 808,000 power outages in Florida associated with the storm here. The majority of them are with Florida Power and Light here, the vast majority, 541,000 of them with Florida Power and Light. And Florida Power and Light serves Charlotte, Sarasota, Manatee, Hardee, and DeSoto counties, and others, but those are our 5 main counties here. Lee County Electric Co-op, that's the area south of Charlotte County. That is the Fort Myers area. They're up to almost 150,000 of the power outages. I just got a message from my wife, and she says where she's at, they're just starting to get some power bumps on and off. That's in parts of Manatee County. Of course, the center of the storm has been so far to the south. So in Manatee County, you haven't been experiencing some of what's been going on in Sarasota County and, of course, definitely not in Charlotte County with the storm. Rainfall reports, I just updated some of these. Last one I have from Venice is just shy of 12 inches already, and you're a long way from being done. In Venice, you're going to be one of the areas they may top out at that 18-inch total, or more, maybe, by the time this is done. Colonial Oaks Boulevard is part of Sarasota. That is just shy of 6 inches. Now, that's one of the highest totals I've seen in the Sarasota area in town here. Bradenton, Only 2.34 inches in downtown Bradenton, but east, I think this is probably unincorporated Bradenton, not part of in town technically, but that's 5.18 inches on the east side there. Punta Gorda with 5.61, and then Northport just had a updated total of 7.73 inches in Northport. We'll go through the airports once again here. The airports here, these are steady for us. That's one of the reasons we use the airports, is they are reliable sources of information for us. They have backup power, and so we can use these typically for a long time unless the equipment gets damaged. Well, at Venice at the airport, 77 mile per hour wind gusts, the steady winds out of the north at 64 miles per hour. In Punta Gorda, 108 mile per hour wind gusts. The steady winds are 77 miles per hour. In Punta Gorda, you are having hurricane force winds. That starts at 74 miles per hour. So you're in some of the worst of it in Punta Gorda, but it might get a little bit worse here over the course of the next couple of hours still. So Punta Gorda, 77 mile per hour winds out of the east, those steady winds with gusts up to 108 miles per hour. Fort Myers, 59 mile per hour steady, 89 mile per hour gusts. And then at SRQ, 68 mile per hour gusts. This is one of the reasons you don't want to be out. And I travel Tamiami Trail every day, and there's that part in Sarasota and in Sarasota County that we call North Trail, and there's a lot of trees on that. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those trees got knocked over, covering the road. That's the other reason why you don't want to go out. How would you like to be driving down the road and have a tree come hit you as you're driving down the road? It's going to ruin your day. It's going to ruin your car. Enough said on that. Yeah, you don't want that. The gusts at SRQ at 68 miles per hour and the steady winds at 39 miles per hour. But we are over 800,000 people without power in Florida because of this storm. So it's just going to get worse from there. We'll keep tallying the totals.
Yeah, and we see people driving out there. You talked about don't drive into, you don't want to drive into branches and wreck your car. Don't drive into the water. I've seen cars go through the water, and you're not going to be happy when your car doesn't work and it's stalled. So is it really worth it? Plus, worth your life to do that? You don't know the water going into your car.
Okay, Nerissa, I don't want to jinx you on this one, but there's a rhyme. When you see high water, turn around.
Don't drown.
Don't drown.
I knew it.
Yay!
Remember that.
Yes.
Okay.
Remember that. But you shouldn't be going out anyway on the roads.
Exactly.
No.
Right now it should be don't go outside.
Shelter in place, SIP.
Exactly.
Okay, everybody, it's serious. This is happening. Also, we want to say, one of the bad places is the most affected right now, Northport. Yeah. And so we want to speak right now to Michael Ryan, who is the Northport Emergency Manager. Michael Ryan, are you on the line right now?
Yes, I am.
Hey, how are you holding up over there? It's not good.
Yeah, no, I think within the last 10, 15 minutes, I think we were starting to see some of those eyewall winds, not only gusts but also sustained. So as you were reporting earlier, the wind field is expanding and moving, and I think we're entering into the eyewall itself as we speak.
Michael, tell us how you're bracing there. How have city leaders really prepared? I mean, this is part of the Suncoast that is really getting hit the most out of Manatee and Sarasota County. What has it been like in the last several hours?
What we've been doing for the last several days is really putting out a lot of messages for our community in terms of what to expect. As you know, this storm track was predicted to go a variety of different directions. But what we did was we planned for the worst-case scenario. Unfortunately, it came to fruition. But what we've done is told a lot of our community how to prepare, where to seek shelter, how to shelter in place, how to prepare in terms of being without power for several days, so in terms of food and water, the things that they need to do in order to get ready for this type of event, which is going to be unprecedented. This is going to be an historic event, and we've been trying to stress that now for several days, that this is going to be something that they probably have not seen, especially for those who are just moving into the area from out of the state, who may have not experienced a hurricane before. This is what a Cat 4 looks like.
Historically catastrophic. That's a word I'm hearing a lot. And our meteorologists here are saying, yes, it's serious. So what are you telling residents, or what's your message to residents now about riding out this storm? They're bored at home. They want to get out. They want to take video.
Right.
You're getting all the calls and the Facebook posts. Are you okay? Are you okay? People want to go out. What are you telling, or what's your message officially from emergency management in Northport?
At this moment, stay where you are. There's no reason to be outside. There's just no good reason for you to be outside. It's too dangerous to even step outside. Right now, just stay where you are. Hopefully you're in a safe location. One of those things is continue to monitor the weather, continue to listen to the news, continue to listen to radio, continue to listen to the updates as they go through this afternoon and to this evening. This is not going to be something that just lasts for a few minutes. This is going to be a fairly long duration event, so just stay where you are, be patient. And again, this is one of the things that we strive for. If you're prepared, we're fine. We're going to make it through this. We'll be okay. We just want to make sure that you stay safe for now. And when the weather finally subsides, which it will, then we'll start looking about the next steps after this.
Michael, for the city of Northport, Irma was the last time we had a pretty strong storm sweep through. How has emergency management there prepared in the past? Is there anything specific based on where Northport is along the Sun Coast or along the coast that is concerning for you and your city leaders?
Sure. One of the things that, was a big problem for us is, of course, the flooding. And so what we've done over the last several years is really worked on our canal system and our waterway system to make sure they're clear, to make sure they're debris-free, that they're flowing freely without obstructions, to kind of help move the water through the city itself. As you know, not only are we concerned with the rainfall within the city, which is going to create its own flooding, but also we get the flow from above that comes through the city generally 2 or 3 days later. So what we've done is try to improve our waterways so that we're able to get the water through the city as quickly as we can and causing less damage, which they've been our Public Works has been very successful in their efforts, and really appreciate their hard work to help us be better prepared and put us in a better position to respond to situations like this.
Take us to Northport right now, Michael. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are the streets like out there?
What I'm seeing is a lot of trees that should not be bent like they are. These are very mature trees, but they are leaning. The wind, of course, the rain is sideways, of course, as you would imagine. Visibility is very limited, probably maybe a quarter mile at best as we go through this. And as you see, as the wind gusts come through, they're already sustained at a high number anyway, but anytime you have a gust on top of that, the trees and the debris just moving across the parking lots and the roads as we speak.
Michael Ryan, Northport Emergency Manager, we appreciate you so much for taking the time and updating us on how the city is doing there. We appreciate it so much. Stay safe, and thank you for all that you're doing and all that we know you're going to be doing once Ian gets out of here and we deal with the aftermath, and we'll do it together. And we're so grateful that you guys had prepared for this.
He's like us. He's wall to wall. He's not stopping. So we appreciate your service in the area. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We're going to kick it on over to Chief Bob so we can hear from him.
I just spoke texted actually, the spokesperson for Northport Police and Northport City down there. And you speak of trees there. Mike was talking about trees. They've got 3 trees down in their parking lot alone, and that's just in their parking lot. We're talking big time down power outages, down power lines and power outages across a wide spread of Inglewood, Northport, Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, all the way over to Venice, South Venice. That's where the tropical storm and hurricane force winds have been occurring over the past 2 hours now and will continue. You notice this area in green? Well, that is a flash flood warning. This again is a flash flood warning covering all of central Sarasota County up to Gulfgate Estates, stretching down through Venice, Inglewood, Port Charlotte, Northport. We want to throw in, again, Nokomis is in that, as well as Gator Creek. This area in green means that you're going to see up to 6 to 8 inches of rainfall over the next, I would say, at least 3 to 4 hours as that whole eye and center moves off to the northeast. So a flash flood warning is in effect now. And as Mike was telling you, we're talking rainfall totals in some of these areas, especially near Venice and stretching off toward Northport, could end up toppling 20 inches before it's all said and done, and that will cause significant flooding, widespread flooding, and catastrophic flooding in some cases, especially along the Myakka River at the Myakka State Park, which feeds down into Venice. And then again, you got Horse Creek and Peace River, which is also feeding some of the tributaries on in through into Charlotte Harbor. Northport, you're involved in that too, obviously. So it's happening now. So there's a lot of information coming out as we speak, and you can see that. Look at that, just a tremendous amount of rainfall. Let's stop here and just look at the intensity of this rain. It is, again, at the rate of 2 to 3 inches per hour. That's torrential, and that's what you normally get when you get that 6,500s right there. But a lot of times they're up to 2.5 inches. I'm just querying, there's an inch right there. You got to pick your spot, but generally speaking, that is coming down at a rainfall up to 2 to 3 inches in some areas, all the way up to Venice. And you can see it's not as intense up into, it looks like Manatee County at this point, but it will be. As I said, this storm is going to spread its wings now that it's over land, and you can see that eye. There's been a special report coming out from the National Weather Services. Don't take the eye lightly. You know, it's kind of cool to be in an eye. Not many people are going to be in an eye, but don't go out, don't venture out, and because the backside can be just as strong as the front side when it moves on through, and it can catch you off guard. The area in Venice, again, not going to see the eye, but the eye wall is certainly in that direction. You notice how that is just spreading. That rain band continues to spread out, and that's the reason why we have that flash flooding advisory warning now in effect across much of Sarasota County. And as I said, up the road we go. We're going to continue to see more rain spreading off toward Wauchula, Arcadia. We'll talk about Duet. You're going to get some of that rainfall and winds. I know a lot of people are wondering, when are we going to get the big winds into, say, Sarasota? We've already had it. The Sarasota-Bradenton Airport had wind gusts up to nearly 75 miles an hour just an hour ago. Those winds will continue to increase, and mainly gusts. But the sustained winds, we're going to see those stay strong right through the next few hours, all the way up into Bradenton. And we're starting to see a little bit more storminess there up near Anna Maria Island, also near Palmetto and Ellenton, getting some rainfall, and in through Arcadia. So a long way to go. You're going to hear that too. And what to do? Stay by your phone, obviously. Stay by the ABC7 broadcast, wherever it may be coming from, and just kind of monitor the situation. Have your warnings turned on for your weather app, and hopefully it's the First Alert weather app, because you can watch us on television as the power goes out. And we're on WSRQ. I believe we are being broadcast live on WSRQ at the same time. People are asking about the radio stations, because it becomes important once you lose power to hear us, right? And to hear what's going on with all the officials, like we just talked with Northport city manager there. We'll be talking with many other managers, emergency managers in Manatee and Sarasota counties. I think their big focus right now is in the South Sarasota County. It's everywhere, but they're really focused now into Northport, Venice, Englewood, and all the way over to Port Charlotte and up toward Osprey and Nokomis, and even into Gulf Gate Estates, as well as into east of I-75 near Clark Road. This is all kind of spinning in that direction, and will continue to do so as we move through the next several hours. It's a massive storm. Get a look at the size of this eye right now. Remember, Charlie was only about 15 miles in that diameter. This one here, get a look at this. Again, up to, well, we're just going to slice this, I guess. I picked the wrong choice there, but we'll get back to the local here and show the, again, distance of this eye in the center as we move through it. It was about 40 miles wide at one point, and that was just the eye itself. Of course, the eye can be as small as 10 miles wide. That's what happened last night. Just before midnight, the central portion of the eye collapsed as a result of concentric eye wall circle, actually eye wall developing. As the inner core actually collapses, an outer core develops. That happened at the wrong time, because it had plenty of time to reorganize and get stronger and stronger throughout the early morning hours. And from Fort Myers all the way, you can see that's the center right there. We're talking over 30 miles wide, that eye at this point. And just the rainfall really starting to pick up near Wauchula, all the way into South Sarasota County. And those rainfall totals are only going to get higher and higher. Mike's been keeping track of that. By the way, let's check one more thing and see if we see any kind of spin up as far as any kind of tornadic activity. And right now, it doesn't show any couplets around, so we're doing pretty good on that front. But that's not to say we won't see some tornadoes as a result of a tornado watch, which is in effect till 5 o'clock. I would imagine they're going to extend that tornado watch. Hurricane warning is with us for the duration of the evening, I'm pretty certain. So we'll have much more, obviously, coming up a little bit later. I'm going to update some of the graphics and show you the storm surge potential. There's still some potential in Manatee County. Boy, we dodged a bullet there. I think Anna Maria Island, Longboat Key, it's still not over. However, we're not going to see the 8 to 10 to 12-foot storm surge that they have seen now into Charlotte Harbor.
That is encouraging. We will take that. Thank you, Bob. Well, of course, Hurricane Ian is impacting a large area, not just here on the Suncoast. We want to get a look at what is happening north and south of us.
So let's check in with ABC 7's Summer Smith, who is following the heavy rain and high winds all around the West Coast. Summer?
Hi, Nerissa and Rebecca. Yes, as Hurricane Ian makes its way to our area, water is basically disappearing from the Tampa Bay. Let's take a look at this. The water receded, and it looks as if it had drained and dried out. This is called a blowout tide or a reverse storm surge. Well, this is some choppy conditions actually in the Tampa area that they were seeing. And we have some images we'll show you also where the water actually went out. So that's very active scene right there. All right, let's go to Marco Island now. The Marco Island Police Department sharing this video of flooding on the island. This is a result of the storm surge from the hurricane and all into the folks there, their yards and areas. All right, let's go to Pine Island now. This is where Hurricane Ian hit that area. We're seeing what experts are calling a catastrophic storm surge. And as you can see, the storm is bringing high winds. You can see the trees over 100 miles per hour and major flooding to this area. And it knocked out power to more than 500,000 customers. First responders had to stop taking calls due to these dangerous conditions. And here's some video from Naples. Massive flooding in this area, in the residential areas, many roads unusable because of all this water. We're told it's even entering into homes and businesses, and people there, along with everywhere else, being warned to stay inside. And of course, residents, again, in our area here on the Suncoast, told to stay inside and ride out this storm. Rebecca, Nerissa, back to you.
Cars in that last piece of video.
Oh,
yeah.
Some are incredible videos and seeing really the total devastation for especially parts further south of us.
Right.
It's just unbelievable. And to think that they, for the longest time, as we've been covering the storm and tracking it, or a chief meteorologist and our meteorologists have been, that they didn't think they were going to be in the line. And then that shift, because they say it can always happen, the last minute, it shifted further south. And maybe many people weren't really ready to evacuate in time.
I always just, ever since I've been in this Florida weather, I always look at the cone, and once I see a cone, it's like it could be
anywhere.
And if we get out, then it's like, okay, phew. But I mean, anytime that cone's up, it can. You need to get ready. It doesn't mean you have to be right at the eye at the whole time. That cone of uncertainty means uncertainty for a reason.
Exactly.
And one more thing, Mike Modrick said that he didn't like the snakes in the water. I know in Tampa, when when the water would go over on Bayshore Boulevard and go into the neighborhoods, we'd see fish. Like there would be fish popping
or the
up.
Catfish. I heard people in my neighborhood were saying there's the catfish
in a
from
parking
our
garage.
retention ponds, and not to mention the gators. Mike, are we going to see gators?
Not good to swim through your legs.
You can. This
Why not?
Heavy flooding water with all the rain falling down is fresh water, and the gators like the fresh water. Brackish, not so much, but yeah. Lakewood Ranch, you've got all of these lakes, and there's gators in pretty much all of them. And so, yes, you could see gators coming out and maybe having a little bit more of a time out and about. So be aware of that also. But of course, you shouldn't be out where they are, and you shouldn't be walking your dog in this stuff either. Going to show you a few rainfall totals, and I'm picking rainfall totals around different parts of our area. The last report out of Venice, almost 12 inches. That's Ringling Museum. That's 5.73. Sorry, I forgot the decimal point in there. 5.73 at Ringling Museum, right there on Tamiami Trail. That means Tamiami Trail has got to be covered with water. You know, the drainage is just not good on most of our roads. Bayshore Gardens Parkway, much lighter total, 2.73 inches. The rain has just been picking up, the wind's picking up. So that part of Manatee County, there haven't been that many outages. In fact, I just got an email from a gentleman named Wayne Kopp in Village Green. He's in Manatee County there. Wayne is heavily involved in the senior softball league there. He's still got power as of last report. It hasn't been that bad in Manatee County. It certainly has not been as bad in Manatee County as it has in Sarasota and certainly Charlotte County. Lakewood Ranch, 5.22 inches for you in Lakewood Ranch at a recent report. Punta Gorda, this is up an inch in about an hour, half an hour. Punta Gorda was 6.63, Northport was 7.73. Now, these are some wind gusts that I've been seeing here reported. 79-mile-per-hour wind gust recently in Venice, 62-mile-per-hour wind gust at SRQ. At Lakewood Ranch, 57-mile-per-hour wind gust, and at Myakka City, a 44-mile-per-hour wind gust. So these winds are increasing in these areas as well. At Punta Gorda, we had the 108-mile-per-hour wind gust. At Arcadia, 43-mile-per-hour wind gusts. There have been a few other locations around Arcadia near a 30-mile-per-hour wind gust. So there's some variability there as well. Taking it into the, oops, okay, I was too fast for my computer. I think Bob and I are both a little too fast for our computers right here, a little trigger happy. This is radar rainfall estimates here. So near Venice, between Venice and Englewood, showing that 14 inches at this point. Northport, 6.9 inches. Punta Gorda, 7. Arcadia, 3.7. Wauchula, near 4 inches.
You are watching continuous coverage of Hurricane Ian's catastrophic landfall on Florida. Did want to make mention that Hurricane Ian has officially made landfall near Cayo Costa, Florida, which is ironically the same location point where Hurricane Charlie made landfall several years ago. As a Category 4 hurricane, Ian officially made that landfall there in Florida. That's just west of Fort Myers, Florida, with winds of 150 miles per hour and as a Category 4 hurricane. We are, if you're watching us on Facebook Live right now, we are nearing the end of the 8-hour allotted time frame for the live stream on Facebook. So we will have to end this stream. We will begin a new stream on Facebook just as quickly here. So stick with us if you're watching on Facebook Live. And if you are watching on any of our station platforms, websites, apps, things like that, our stream will continue, of course. But I just wanted to let you know that for folks watching on Facebook, you will experience a brief interruption in coverage, but we will be back just as quickly there. So I do want to send you back out to Sarasota, Florida, with more wall-to-wall coverage of Hurricane Ian.
7.4, Hidden River, 6.5. Heritage Oaks Golf and Country Club, 7.1 inches. Not going to be doing any golfing there for a while. Here's Siesta Key area, 7.8 inches. Sarasota in general is in this red band here, which is 6.4 inches. Let me do Myakka City here before I move this upwards. So you see a big difference here. South side of Myakka City, 5.3. North side, 4.7. It's not a huge difference. I'll slide it up north here a little bit more, and let's take it to that Bayshore Gardens area that I was just mentioning, which the rain gauge report was 2.7 and 3.8 showing by Doppler radar. Let's take it up to Anna Maria Island here, and Anna Maria Island, 3.5 is what we're indicating. Of course, it's been raining all day, basically. We had this rain started, light rain started yesterday for us, and then it's just continued. All right, Bradenton. So the downtown area of Bradenton would be right about in here, and that's 3.4. Kind of covered up Palmetto there for you, but that's about 3.8 there. All right, Lakewood Ranch. You know, Lakewood Ranch is huge. Good 80,000 some people living in the Lakewood Ranch area. So on the north side, 5 inches. Get to kind of central Lakewood Ranch, 5.9. Get into this red shading, which would be the Sarasota County areas of Lakewood Ranch, 6.7 inches there. Take you one more step up to the north here to talk a little bit more about North Manatee County. So Palmetto here, 3.7. Parrish, again, a big difference from west to east. West side, 5.1. Parrish on the east side, 3.6. Waimama, 3 inches there. So much lower rainfall totals there on the northern areas in Manatee County as opposed to Charlotte County. Yep. Bob, you ready to rock and roll?
I am. Got some new information, Mike, in from the National Weather Service. I think this is the highest wind speed I've seen recorded, and it just happened about 10 minutes ago at the Punta Gorda Airport at the ASAW system there, which is an automatic system. We think it's functioning properly. Get this, it recorded 124-mile-an-hour wind just 10 minutes ago. It's still happening across parts of Charlotte County. That is now, they're in the eye wall. Look at that. It went from 124 down to 19 miles an hour just in 20 minutes. So they're in the eye. They're in the center of the storm. That's where the winds get calm. You don't see this very often. It's a rare occurrence, but again, it looks like Ian came across the same location as Hurricane Charlie in 2004. Cayo Costa is where it made landfall. Port Charlotte now at 48 miles an hour. Harbor Heights 47, 73 in Northport. That is uprooting trees right now and large branches in Northport. We've already had reports trees down there, 80 miles an hour in Rotunda and 96. Look at this, 96. That's the backside I mentioned. Even the back of this storm has a lot of wind to it. You can see those winds turning around to the north here, all the way from Inglewood down into Placida and Boca Grande, 111 miles an hour. Now, 77, a little lesser as you move north of Venice now at 59 miles an hour. So this is what we expected mid-afternoon when everything was going to get a little stronger as the system makes landfall, and it certainly made landfall just about an hour ago. And you can see the wind forecast. A lot of people are calling our helpline. We do have that here at ABC7. We've got folks staffing that, and Stephanie Roberts has been helping some of them out with some of the weather questions. And again, you can call up. There's the number right there on your screen. If you have some concerns and questions, call 941-552-3127. They'll help you out. But a lot of the questions that were coming in is, when can we expect the worst for our area? Right now, it's happening in Northport, Venice, Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, and it has been happening. The worst weather isn't going away in 10 minutes. We heard that from the manager down there, the emergency manager there in Northport. It's going to be around for another hour or two. It's going to stay pretty steady. Heavy rain, strong winds coming out of the east, gusts up to hurricane force strength. Bradenton, you're at 61. That's the wind forecast, and it starts to pick up as that center gets closer and closer to some of these cities throughout the night. There's Wauchula, 81 at 6. So that will be the worst for you. So it's 4 o'clock right now. So in a few hours, it looks like into Wauchula, a couple hours at least, you're going to start to see some of those stronger winds. And it won't be over just in 10 minutes either. It'll stay strong. You saw it go up to 88 at one point. Even in Arcadia, we're going to see some numerous power outages, if not already. And into Bradenton, since you're going to be further away from the eye, it looks a little better for you, but it's not like, okay, everything's all clear, you can go out. You're going to get that north wind, and that's going to pile some of the water up, especially along the Manatee River near the Robinson Preserve, also near Anna Maria Island, near Bean Point. You're going to get a lot of heavy surf there and a lot of coastal erosion all the way along the north end of Anna Maria Island. So that's not going to be pretty, and all that water washes down into Sarasota Bay. So the wind forecast is looking like this. Still in Wauchula. Remember we told you at 6, it's going to get up to 80. Here we are at 10, still 70. In Arcadia, still at 50 miles an hour. These are sustained winds, starting to lessen somewhat late tonight for coastal residents, but you're going to want to stay put all night tonight. I know the winds may come down enough. You say, let me go check things out. I mean, if it's safe, you certainly can around your property, but realize it's not good to go outdoors until the authorities say, okay, it's okay to assess the damage, for example, and near and around your neighborhood. Before I left my home, I told my wife, I said, listen, talk to your neighbors and make sure that you guys have a network there, text messages, you can go back and forth. Because if something happens to you right now, there's no emergency services that can help you out. There's no ambulance, there's no fire truck. There's none of that right now, and that's going to stay that way for at least the next few hours. I would say 5-6 hours here along West Central Florida. So keep an eye on that throughout the night. It's not over yet, but boy, 124-mile-an-hour wind gusts just recently reported in Punta Gorda. That's amazing.
It's no joke.
That is definitely amazing. I want to touch a little bit on the wind speeds and the power outages. I haven't been able to update these numbers in a few minutes, but they haven't changed significantly. 800,000 people without power with Florida Power and Light across the state, over 500,000 of them in our general vicinity. But the graphic I really wanted to show you was this next one here. So this is the radius of the wind speeds. The orange is the higher level of tropical storm force winds, and this red area here is the hurricane force winds. So we're at 1:30 in the morning. Coming up here Thursday morning as we head on through the night. All right, I put this into motion a little bit here, and so you're going to see by 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're still in the yellow banding here, which is still the tropical storm force winds. 40 to 50, 60 mile per hour winds. That's at 6 a.m. tomorrow. And then set this into motion into 10:30 tomorrow. We're still in the tropical storm force winds. Headed a little bit farther into time here. All right, we're at 7 o'clock Thursday, so a little more than 24 hours from now. And we're getting out of the tropical storm force winds. All right, why is that important? That's important because the power crews don't go out to start working on the power lines until those winds get down under 35 miles per hour. So that would mean that on through tomorrow night, on through tomorrow around 7 p.m., crews may not be out. They might be able to start getting into maybe some of southern Sarasota County and Charlotte County before 7 o'clock tomorrow night. But this could be an ongoing situation where they haven't even gotten started in parts of Manatee County or Hardy County by 7 o'clock tomorrow night, rather. And so that's a long time. That's not even starting for 24 hours from now, probably 36 hours from now, before the crews even start to get out and head out to make their repairs and whatnot. And one other thing I just wanted to emphasize, we do have that risk of severe weather here in through today, of course, and then on into Thursday. That risk really shifts off to the east. So we're not in that risk of any kind of severe weather after today, but we still have that tornado watch going for tonight. Have not had any reports of tornado activity. We have not had any significant reports, storm reports that come in, but they're slow to come in as well. We're in a situation like this. But do not expect the power to come back on quickly. Expect that power. Patience is a virtue for us all at this point. And we always say during our hurricane special, the first 72 is on you, meaning the first 72 hours, surviving the first 72 hours of a hurricane is on you to be prepared for it with 3 days of water, 3 days of food that you can eat without power, without any way to prepare it, and potentially 3 days with no water to, come fill back up your toilets and that sort of thing. And of course, your drinking water is not probably going to be good drinking water for a while as well. We'll get information on that from our county officials as we get into the repair phase, but we're not there yet. All right, that's what I wanted to point out for now. Summer, Nerissa?
Yeah, and we have Summer Smith joining us now. It's
back on the seat. Yes.
Rebecca, Summer, and I will be with Chief Bob and meteorologist Mike Modrick all night, bringing you all the information you need and showing you the images and tracking the storm. Of course, we're in it for the long haul.
And they've been great. Mike, Bob, John from the morning, just been fantastic giving us these weather updates. So we want to give you an update, though, of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. Many of our Suncoast residents take this bridge daily, and it is closed right now because of the high winds and the rainy conditions and the Hurricane Ian being out there. So it is closed to the public, not a safe place to be at this time. And this is a live shot right now of the Skyway. And take a look at that choppy water. I know there's some rain on the camera, but you can really see how high that water level is.
It's already scary, I think, to drive on the Sunshine Skyway for myself, and let alone with that water underneath. So for obvious reasons, that bridge, Sunshine Skyway, and many other bridges are closed. So again, we can't emphasize it enough. Shelter in place means stay at home, stay safe. Don't go out rogue doing your TikTok videos and getting your, live stream, unless you're doing it from inside your house, looking out.
All right, we have been listening to live coverage from our station WWSB down in Sarasota, Florida, of course, giving us all the latest information on Hurricane Ian as it makes landfall in Florida as well. Let's get another update from Chief Meteorologist Clay Osterly, who's here now with some latest information. Clay, I think you just got a newest update.
Yeah, Alicia, two updates for you that I want to give, but I want to start out with this one, just showing how bad conditions currently are across the western side of Florida here. We've heard from WWSB, Punta Gorda mentioned several times here recently. Punta Gorda right now, just now coming out of the eye wall of Hurricane Ian. I'm going to click on this icon for you here, showing us the latest wind reading here, right through here. And this is what I'm looking at right here. It is currently sustained at 73 knots, which is 90 miles per hour, and gusting to 107 knots. That's 128 miles per hour right now. That is approaching that Category 4 hurricane status right there. As soon as it can get to 130 miles per hour, that is Category 4 hurricane winds going on right now in Punta Gorda, Florida at this time, as it just came out of the upper eye wall of Hurricane Ian over the last few minutes here, but we're still seeing those really strong winds coming in right now. Ian's still moving north to northeast right now, so winds out of Sarasota have now flipped to due north. Venice, the same thing, but winds will continue to increase as well as Ian continues its trek up to the north. As the circulation gets closer to eye level with these locations, I fully expect the wind speeds to continue to increase. In Sarasota, Florida right now, at the International Airport, we're seeing winds of roughly 45 to 47 miles per hour, but it's gusting up over 60 miles per hour as well. So we're still seeing some very strong winds out there. Nothing to laugh at all, but just not quite as bad as what we're seeing currently in that northern side of the eye wall of Hurricane Ian right over Punta Gorda, Florida at this point. We're still seeing massive storm surge taking place here across Fort Myers. We're seeing more and more just heartbreaking images of houses with water up to their roof lines currently in Fort Myers, in Cape Coral, and coastal areas down here. Naples also dealing with a lot of that really bad flooding. Wanted to get you the latest update here from the National Hurricane Center. This is the 4 o'clock advisory. Remember, we're in the Eastern time zone because that's where the hurricane is located. At 4 p.m., extremely dangerous Category 4 Hurricane Ian continues to move inland around the Cape Coral, Punta Gorda area. Punta Gorda Airport recently reported a wind gust of 124 miles per hour. We had one a little bit higher than that, 128 miles per hour, just a few minutes ago. And then Cape Coral Fire Department recently reported a wind gust at their station of 110 miles per hour, so we're seeing that. One thing that I am noticing here, pressure continues to rise just a little bit, which means that Ian is weakening. Now starting to feel the impacts of interaction of landmass. Also, winds are coming down a little bit, 145 miles per hour sustained winds at this point rather than the 150 mile per hour winds. Still a Category 4 hurricane though, and we have a long ways to go with that. Has to get below 130 miles per hour before it is officially a Category 3 hurricane. So we have several more hours to go of Category 4 hurricane strength winds, storm surge, heavy flash flooding rains going on right now. And of course, with that, this is a flash flood warning that has been issued for a large portion of the Sarasota market. As you can see right there, flash flood warning, and I can read you some of the information here. Radar's indicating that very heavy rain is falling across the Warren area. Between 3 and 6 inches of rain have already fallen, and an additional rainfall amount of up to 3 to 6 inches are possible across the Warren area here. And flash flooding is either ongoing already or expected to begin shortly. So it is raining very heavily in this area that you can see here. Rainfall rates easily 1 inch per hour. It's going to start to stack up, especially in areas that are already dealing with some storm surge problems. Didn't notice too much of a storm surge issue on this side of the storm because the winds are blowing out towards the Gulf of Mexico. But down further to the south here, certainly could be, especially areas in this inlet that have seen winds blowing in towards the bay. This is the area that we're really going to see a lot of the worst devastation from Hurricane Ian moving forward.
All right, Clay, thanks so much for that latest update. Let's get everyone back out to WWSB. Looks like they're doing one more update with their meteorologist. Let's check back in with them now.
We're getting the training effect, it's called, where you get repeated showers and heavy thunderstorms over the same place for a long duration of time. I know in Northport you're going, when is this going to end? When is it going to end? It just keeps coming. Well, it's going to keep coming for at least another hour because we got this whole other part here left to go. If it's moving to the northeast at 9, say 10 miles an hour, and it's 30 miles wide, well, you got a couple more hours for this heavy rain to keep on going. Thus, the flash flood warning is in effect. There's no doubt about it. There's some significant flooding going here. And as Mike said, we don't get a lot of reports coming out right now. And sometimes the estimates can be overdone. But I don't think that's going to be the case with this area right here. This is going to be ground zero for the heaviest amount of flooding problems as we move forward through the next couple of hours. And this becomes a life-threatening event in this situation. You do not want to drive. You do not want to venture out because that flooding waters can cause all sorts of problems with your safety. We'll move it up the road and show you. We're getting reports of some branches being snapped now into Bradenton, northwest Bradenton Parish. Not heavy rainfall, but the winds are starting to pick up, and you'll notice the direction. They're changing a little bit. They're out of the north and northeast, and that's going to happen. Right now, they're more out of the east, but they're going to switch around to the northeast, then eventually the north, and then the northwest. Mike mentioned the rainfall totals. They are excessive in places, and they continue to grow right now. So look out in Northport, Port Charlotte, Englewood, Rotunda. You took the brunt of that storm. Haven't heard a lot of reports out of Rotunda or into, for example, looks like Grove City is located right there. Also, Englewood was right there, who saw the eye wall and continues to see the eye wall moving through as that eye wall is expanding. Wind forecast tonight still tropical storm force strength and not out of the question with occasional hurricane gusts as it makes its way to the northeast. 71 at Wauchula. This is one forecast model's interpretation. I know I show that graphic a lot, but people may be just kind of seeing that. The power outages, Mike's talked about it, over 800,000 across the state and more power outages expected. This is based on an algorithm based on wind speed, and this is provided by our, again, WSI system, our weather system here at the ABC7 First Alert Weather Desk. And as you move through time, you see the area in red. That's widespread power outages. That's definitely occurring right now into Northport, into southern portions of DeSoto County. Even this is considered at least a good chance of power outages all the way over to Venice and Osprey and into Arcadia later on tonight. Not as much in Manatee County. We've had reports of power outages. More could be on the way, though, as this storm kind of expands and opens up as it moves over land. So keep that in the offing there. Now, we're going to have much more coming up a little bit later. Obviously, I'm still working on that storm surge. I did do some research, you guys, and I found out that there's still a risk of storm surge on Anna Maria Island. Obviously, it's not the 8 to 12 foot that was projected because the storm moved further to the south, but still pretty high. We're talking 4 to 6 feet possibly, and that's another reason why no one's allowed back on the islands at all, and in fact, anywhere as a result of the storm.
And Bob, I talked about the snake thing a little bit. I learned that two years ago from you. You please tell us the snake situation, the alligator situation as far as the standing water.
I got to tell you something. You know, when the water comes in, those creatures have nowhere to go, right? So they go out onto the roads and they're swimming to find high ground, just like a lot of you maybe. So be careful out there. I know we had a reporter once years ago during a storm, Mike, that was actually shooting video in a flooding situation. He had his boots on, long pants on and everything, and sure enough, a whole ball of red ants landed on him and started to crawl up and bite him. And obviously, he had a rescue worker had to come and actually rescue him and give him some sort of, you know, what do you call that stuff, Benadryl, and make sure that, because he was overreacting to it. It was crazy. So be careful. I mean, don't go out. Wait till everything's kind of cleaned up and the water recedes. If you have to go out, make sure you look around, because alligators, you know, what's the song? I don't like alligators and snakes. Anyway.
I don't like those either.
I don't like a
I don't
ball
want to
of
get
red
that
ants
close.
either.
No.
Right, ball red
Very
ants is a good
painful, but
idea.
good advice. Something, and again, a lot of people who are new here would not know that information.
Exactly.
No, we have to welcome the new Floridians that are here.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Quite the
sorry
welcome.
for the welcome party,
Yeah.
this kind of welcome party, but you are being initiated and you'll live to tell. We'll be helping you along the way.
All right.
And just follow our lead and you'll be in good shape.
And one of the reasons this is top of mind for me is my wife and I were having this discussion just yesterday, because she had mentioned that in our development, well, if she had to, she could walk out. Well, we have the main road gets very, very waterlogged even in a thunderstorm. And this is more than a thunderstorm. It'll be very, very waterlogged. And she said, I could walk through that. And I brought up the snake story. So, Bob, thank you for that. I got to be right one time.
That'll keep us inside.
Yeah.
One time.
That was my one time being right for this decade. Do I have time to show you the power?
Yeah,
outages?
let's know.
Okay.
Give us an update on the power outages.
Okay, we're up to, I almost feel like we're in a telethon and we're doing the tally. 850,000 people in Florida without power now because of the storm. At Florida Power and Light, it's 541,000, and Lee County Electric Co-op, which is, Lee County is just south of Charlotte County, so that's the Fort Myers area, 151,000 there. Those just don't total up to the 850. There are other counties. I'm just showing you this particular batch because the Florida Power and Light ones, Florida Power and Light serves Charlotte County, Sarasota County, Manatee County, Hardee County, and DeSoto County, our main areas there. All right, when we went on a little bit after 2 o'clock, this number was around 450,000. I predict, Bob and I, we're in the business of predicting things. I predict by 5:15 we might be up to 1 million or really, really close to it for Floridians without power. Latest rainfall reports, over 10 inches at Englewood, 14 inches in Venice. These are in actual rain gauges. Now here's Siesta Key. You've gotten fortunate to some extent up till now, but there's still many bands of rain to come on through. It's just a little over 2.5 inches at Siesta Key. In Lakewood Ranch, the total's gone up about 1/3 of an inch just in 20 minutes or so. Punta Gorda, 6.63. Parrish, the farther north you are in general, the less rain there has been. So in Parrish, in northern Manatee County, 2.56 inches of rain. That power outage index that that is 50 to 73 mile per hour wind. That's starting to leave our areas as it heads up toward Winter Haven and then pushes to the northeast. But almost all of our area is still in the lighter side of the tropical storm force winds, which would be the 40 to 50 mile per hour winds still. So that's at 6 a.m. Power crews not going out in that. 10:30, we're still there. Power crews are not going out. By 7:30, we're out of that. Theoretically, they could go out. I'm not sure what Florida Power and Light, I'm not sure what their protocol is for going out at nighttime, but that is right about sunset time there. So that would make things difficult, of course. But those crews are staged and ready to go. They're at Robarts Arena in the parking lot, ready to go. But they won't go out until those winds get below 35 miles per hour with there. Right now, these are some of the wind gusts, the last reports. Actually, stay with me here. Just give me a second here. I want to take you to the 4 airports that I have here. So give me a second. Okay, here's Venice. Venice with 79 mile per hour wind gusts right at the moment with steady winds at 54 miles per hour. This next one is Punta Gorda. Now, we're still showing the 123 mile per hour peak wind gusts that they had, and that may be back again. Bob had shown that the wind had really dropped as the eye wall went over, and that eye wall is pretty calm winds. But we're showing now 123-mile-per-hour gust at this point, so the eye wall may be back on it again. The steady winds at 77 miles per hour. This is Fort Myers, gusts up to 96, and at SRQ, 71-mile-per-hour gusts with the steady winds out of the north-northeast at 46 miles per hour. These are the highest winds I think we've seen at SRQ, although we've seen gusts in that 71, 72, 73 range a little earlier. All right.
Tab. So check this. Sparks are flying from the electrical lines, and this is in Sarasota. Very powerful. Anyone with a pool right now opening up their sliding glass doors or doors, they're able to see the rain just pounding coming on in. And very powerful out there.
Oh, kitties. This is our Summer and I. We have a soft spot for these guys. Some viewers showing us that they brought these this feral mama cat and her kittens from Woody's River into their home to ride out the hurricane. We can't forget the animals. Summer and I were just sharing pictures of our own animals at home, and they're nervous. They're nervous, and oh, how sad if the. Thank goodness that woman brought those animals that are outside into their home.
Yeah, very nice thing to do. And there's lots of them out there.
Right.
All right, we have some more video to show you. We want to show you this viewer video from a woman in Ellenton, Monica Martinez. Take a look at this rain coming down. Lots of soggy lawns out there, but hopefully the grass will be growing soon. But for now, very soggy conditions, very wet roads, a lot of standing water, so everyone will want to be careful. So how long are these conditions going to last, and what can we expect for the next 24 hours? Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan now for a latest look at the forecast. Bob?
Well, the good news is that the storm has made landfall, and now what is to be expected, it is going to weaken. It no longer is over the source of its energy or the gas tank, which is the Gulf of Mexico. So we don't expect to see a strengthening system. It is still strong, however. It made landfall at 155 mile an hour winds. That's the fifth. Again, only four other storms have done that in the history, making landfall that strong. And get a look at that rainfall right in to the eye right now. Punta Gorda on the verge of it. So if you're out trying to sightsee, you shouldn't be. You're going to see those winds pick up again back to 115, 120 miles an hour. I had a wind gust up to 124 just a half hour ago there at the Punta Gorda airport. But this is the big concern. It just continues to hammer Northport and Port Charlotte and Inglewood. Not so much with the wind. The wind is bad, don't get me wrong. That's terrible, and trees are going down as a result of that wind. But it's the rainfall. It's the freshwater flooding that could be a big issue right here. Life-threatening flooding. There is a flood warning out for that area. And as this moves off to the northeast, you're going to see that expand northward a little bit. So it's the warning is actually up into the Gulf Gate Estates area, all the way over to Clark Road and I-75, and a little bit of places to the east thereof too. And we still have more rain whipping around here, and the onshore flow has begun into Charlotte Harbor, so the storm surge is not quite over yet. Let's go ahead and show you again the rainfall and the advisories that are out there. As far as it goes, the area in red here, the deep red, that is the flash flood warning that's in effect currently across Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, and into Inglewood. That's in effect until 7:15. So you asked how long we've got. We've still got many hours to go for more flooding in that area, and that could be extended. We'll see how that goes and plays out. If we go, that tornado watch is in effect until 5 o'clock. We haven't had a lot of tornadoes. Let's hope it stays that way, but there's always that possibility of 1 or 2 possibly developing this time with these storms making landfall. If there's any kind of velocity, we're checking. We don't see any couplets. That would be the red and green, actually just isolated. We don't see that at all with this situation. So no warnings as far as tornadoes go, but as I mentioned, that certainly could happen. Any kind of shear going on in the atmosphere, we don't see a whole lot except down here. That's where the strongest shear is. And a little piece right there, just to the northeast of Parrish, their winds could be a little higher in that particular region. So once again, this is not over by any stretch. The flood warning in effect for much of Sarasota County, and the wind forecast continues to call for tropical storm force and even hurricane force winds right up to 6 o'clock and into 7 o'clock. It's still really beating up Arcadia and Wauchula. And then as we move through time, we're still talking those high winds on into Wednesday night. By Thursday morning, things will start to calm down a little bit. And once again, it'll be dangerous. Don't go out and venture out. Could be a lot of problems happening on that particular time. We are looking at the wind forecast for us on Thursday. Thursday will be much better, folks. We still have a good chance of rain. It'll be breezy out there, but I'm looking forward. But I want to tell you, be careful. Cleanup after a hurricane can be sometimes more dangerous than the actual storm itself for people, because they're out there overexerting themselves, trying to pick things up, trying to get things back in order. And, you know, it's going to be hot, and there may not be any way to get any air conditioning for you. And we'll wait and see. I've talked to the emergency management directors at Sarasota and Manatee counties both, and they both said that they open up these air-conditioned little houses, basically schools or libraries. And in that, they allow their cooling stations. So you may be out working all day, you want a break, you want to get in some AC, and you want to bring the family. Well, they may open up a library or a school and have you the ability for you to drive by and cool down for an hour or two. And that's going to be a big deal. Radar now really starting to pick up into and around Manatee County, starting to get the big rains there. And these storms that will move through have the potential for producing big showers and storms. I wanted to show you 7 days. 7 day looks a lot better. I'm looking forward to that day, the weekend, as it moves on in. It's going to be a much better forecast for you, obviously. Much more on that, and I'm still working on that storm surge graphic, but we're going to have it for you. Okay. Still the possibility of storm surge in Manatee County once those winds turn to the north, and you can see that late to Wednesday, we're going to see that north to northwesterly flow, which could still pile that water up on Longboat Key. Thus, the evacuation orders were issued for that reason.
All right.
Risa?
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, it's still very active out there. I'm just getting some video from East Manatee County, and the rain and the wind just coming on down. So that continues. I do want to give you 2 updates out of Manatee County right now. The school district, Manatee County School District, just sent out an alert, an email to the community that school is out through Friday. They will make a decision on when students and staff will return to school after the storm passes. But as of right now, out through Friday, and 17 of the schools in Manatee County are serving as shelters. We'll get word on Sarasota County School District in just a moment. And then also the Manatee County Clerk's Office sending out a message that the Clerk's Office will be closed through Friday, and all jurors summoned on Friday are no longer needed. That's because the courts will be closed through Friday as well. So 2 important updates out of Manatee County.
I don't think they'll mind that.
No.
The jury duty. But yeah, I think a lot of schools are serving as shelters. So even though the storm is over, they still need to,
clean up.
Still need to clean up. They still need a place to stay. So this isn't just a couple-day thing. We're in it, and we're in it for the long haul. Hopefully the sun will come out, as Bob said,
soon.
This weekend. The sun will come out maybe.
We'll be very thankful to see that.
All right, we're going to go to Jace Harper, ABC 7's Jace Harper, talking to one Bradenton couple dealing with flooding in their backyard. So check this out.
As people along the Sun Coast continue to deal with the high winds and heavy rain, one couple in Bradenton is dealing with a flood threat in their own backyard. Randy Primrose gives a peek as to what she sees out her back window. She also says she's waiting and prepared for the power to go off. She says she and her husband have been glued to ABC 7 and are heeding all of the warnings given by our meteorologists.
We're going to lose power. Bob said so, we believe him. The minute the power goes off, It's Operation Get the Cooler Out, get the ice out, get the stuff out of the refrigerator, and save as much as we can.
Primrose says this isn't her first hurricane and says she feels prepared for whatever Ian throws their way. Jace Harper, ABC 7, your local station.
Oh, Bob
They're
got a shot
watching
out
Bob,
there.
that's right.
Chief Bob and Mike and John and
they've been busy.
Right,
a lot of work.
As I said, this is the Super Bowl of weather. So it's you know, their time. They're the experts, and we're so grateful we have experts on staff to bring accurate information to everyone.
Keeping
out
all
there.
of our families and loved ones safe out there. So
speaking of getting info,
yeah, if you have any questions about this storm or school-related questions, community-related questions, we have some co-workers and staff working the phone lines here in our ABC 7 newsroom, and all you need to do is call this number on your screen, 941-552-3127. They are not the meteorologists, but they are very helpful with a lot of access to information in our community, 941-552-3127.
and they have been there since last night, and I know because they are right by my desk. So they are answering phone calls. So feel free to call that number. That's what it's there for. I'm talking. My producer is talking to me right now because this just in. We have we have the chief of police on the line. Is that right?
With the Bradenton Police Department.
Bradenton chief of police. This is great. Melanie Bevan talking to us right now. Thank you, Chief, for joining us. How are things going down there in Bradenton for you? What are you guys dealing with right now? What do you see out there?
Well, they are going. I have been out for the past hour, going by our shelters, both for the public, with the officers, and I will tell you, even within the last hour, it has gotten worse and worse. In fact, I had one more shelter to visit, and I decided to call it quits and get back here to the department and hunker down a little bit.
Chief Bevan, what would you like the community to know right now at 4:30 in the afternoon? It's not over, and you're saying that right now. It's busy out there. What would you like community members to know?
It's not over. It's just gearing up for us. We are starting to see some very significant gusts driving around, even on our main thoroughfares and certainly on side streets. We have a lot of downed trees, and so passage, as you would normally come to know, is simply not going to be possible. So please, please, please stay home. It is a little disheartening that the population in some of our shelters is down significantly from Irma. I would have thought that people would have learned a lesson. I would have thought that they would have heeded the warnings that we saw yesterday and this morning, and that we would have in the thousands in our shelters, and we don't. So I can only imagine that a lot of them have decided to brave it at home. And so if you're doing that, please stay inside. Do not go out. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Chief Bevan, are you getting a lot of calls right now for help from residents in the area?
We aren't doing too terribly bad right now. The roads are pretty clear when it comes to vehicles. I've been out for an hour and probably only passed about 15 cars. Unfortunately, I still saw some pedestrians out on the road. I'm a little unclear about that. I tried to talk to some of them and get them to go back into their homes and back into the shelters. But for some folks, they see this, I guess, as an adventure. I'm not sure about that. I'll tell you, I see what we're going through and can only imagine what our partners to the south are going through. We're experiencing maybe, tropical gale force winds, Hurricane 1 and just, 50 miles down to the south, they're getting 3 times what we're getting.
Wow, yes, that's for sure. Chief Bevan, we thank you and all of your officers for being out there protecting our community and taking time away from their own families and making sure their own homes are safe. So we thank you so much for doing this for our community.
Well, thank you all for trying to get the message out. It's very important that people are listening to you and seeing what's happening out there and that they shelter in place. And so thanks for your public service as well.
Thank you, Chief Bevans. Thank you so much for your service. Okay, we are going to go back to Mike Modrick because he has an update on things. What you got?
There's a big storm outside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you haven't had that one yet, it's a big, big storm. 10 inches at Englewood, 14 inches in Venice with this storm so far that have been reported.
Just getting something in, I'm sorry. You can relay it to us. 78-mile-an-hour wind at the Sarasota Bradenton Airport. I think that's the highest we've seen so far.
Was that a gust?
I think it was a gust.
Gust, yeah. 78-mile-per-hour wind gust at SRQ just a few minutes ago. A rainfall amount at Siesta Key hit 2.58 inches, 2.5. Lakewood Ranch, about 5.5, and then Punta Gorda still with much, much higher totals here. These are some of the wind gusts that I just got off this map that I'm using. This is a map that doesn't plot automatically, so I have to look into them and then put this graphic together. But these are some high winds that we're seeing now in Bradenton. 81-mile-per-hour wind gust in Bradenton. That's at the city municipal headquarters there. At Bradenton Beach, a 77-mile-per-hour wind gust. Lakewood Ranch, 57 miles per hour, 46 miles per hour at Myakka City. Longboat Key, 46 miles per hour, and Arcadia, a 50-mile-per-hour wind gust. I'm going to take it over to our, I have this city-by-city display here with the most recent reports. So Venice at wind gust of 79 miles per hour. That's the peak wind gust with a steady wind of 54 miles an hour. Punta Gorda showing that wind gust of 123 miles per hour. You can only imagine the catastrophic damage. I just showed you that Bradenton having an 81-mile-per-hour wind gust. So consider that's probably happening at IMG in that vicinity as well. We had that picture an hour or so ago of this huge oak tree that had to have been 80 years old or 100 years old, and that oak tree was just snapped and bent over like a toothpick. So these winds are really impressive. At Punta Gorda, the steady winds at 77. This is Fort Myers with 96-mile-per-hour gusts, and here we are with SRQ. That's what Bob was talking about. 78-mile-per-hour wind gusts now at SRQ. The steady winds at 48 miles per hour. So that is just in the beginning ranges of the tropical storm force winds, which are essentially 40 miles upwards, but that wind gust of 78 miles per hour. Now, that area of Tamiami Trail, there's not a lot of vegetation there where the airport is. That's a pretty barren area of road. But then you just get on more on the Sarasota side, and there's a lot of trees there in that North Trail area between Sarasota and the airport. And I'd be shocked if there weren't a lot of limbs down or maybe some of those trees down as well. Sad for that, because all of our trees are beautiful trees, but that's what we're getting from there. All right, I am going to take you to my rainfall estimate on Doppler radar here, because I do have that auto updating. So it's loading up here. There we go. Wow. Here between Venice and Englewood, that's 16.2 inches. You get over toward Punta Gorda, that's 7 inches. 4 inches near Arcadia. Northport, 8.5. A little bit closer to Osprey at 9.2. Sarasota, have not seen this high a total in some of the rain gauges, but close. 7.6 was what's showing up around Sarasota and Siesta Key. Haven't seen that much at Siesta Key in a rain gauge. Bradenton area, 3.7. Lakewood Ranch, 6.1. That's close to what we've seen in some of the rain gauges. Wauchula, 4.9 to the south. Arcadia at 4.1. So those are the rainfall totals that are showing up on Doppler radar here for us. And in fact, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here since I've got some time. And what I'm seeing here, there is this tongue, if you will, of heavy, heavy-duty rains. And that's right between the barrier islands and the mainland, and that's showing 6.2 inches of rain. That's astounding. This is in the last 24 hours, but frankly, most of it has been today, of course. I'll get closer to Northport here. That's 10.6, but on the east side of Northport, 9.1. That's an inch difference is a huge difference. Let's go over to Punta Gorda. The west side was 7.8. The east side of Punta Gorda, 6.6. We'll get to Osprey here, and near Osprey, 8.2. So Osprey, half of what has happened here between Venice and Englewood. I'm going to zoom it in just a little bit closer here. I keep going the wrong way, so forgive me that. I don't usually do this kind of manipulation on the machine with the mouse. So here we go. We'll query this on the machine. So here's Englewood, 12.7 there. Here's Venice on the south side. In fact, I'll take kind of the extreme south side, if you will, with 3.3. 13.0. And I'll go to the north side of Venice with 11.9. Take it up to around Nokomis, 9.7. So it's a huge difference in the amount of rain because of the way these bands of rain have pushed on in here. Headed over to Northport there, 9.7 on the west side, 9.1 on the east side. Go just a little bit more to the north here, and we'll take it up to Lakewood Ranch, with Lakewood Ranch area on Doppler radar showing 6.4. Go to Mayaca City, 5.7. And we're far from over on all this. I go up to Bayshore Gardens up on the top of the screen, 4.6. All of this is enough to cause massive flooding because we don't have any elevation. You know how the way it ponds on the roads just when we have our normal thunderstorms, and this is absolutely abnormal weather for us. The amount of water and the flooding is going to be, I really can't imagine it. I really can't. I've never lived in an area getting this much rain. Bob, are you ready to do a hit here?
Yes.
Go to Anchors.
You're going to us, actually.
Going to you guys.
Don't drive through the water.
Don't go anywhere, though.
Right.
Don't jet ski through the water.
Don't drive,
walk
period,
and
right.
Don't swim.
Don't get alligators, you know.
Chasing it.
Yeah, chasing, swimming after you.
Turn around, don't drown.
He's always got the rhymes.
I'd never heard that before, but good
He's got a
advice.
couple
Don't
of
ruin your
rhymes.
car, too.
Yeah, don't ruin your
All right.
car.
You have an important app to tell people about.
Right. We want to remind people about the ABC7 weather app. Do we have it? We can pull that up to remind folks. ABC weather app. This is really simple. You can take out your phone right now and you can go on that little QR code. Take your phone on photo. I'm doing it right now. Point at it. Whoop. It's going to be there. Whoop. There it is. It's that simple. Summer's doing it right now. So download it today, or that's on the screen, the QR code. Click on it. You got it. You'll be connected. Good things to know.
All right, and take a look at this picture that was sent in to us from a viewer. Shows a roof in Bradenton torn from a home. The viewer stating that it almost took down power lines in this area. Very dangerous right now with those strong winds to be out and about with heavy projectiles like this. So that is why you're told to stay indoors, among many other things. All right, Chief Bob is standing by. And Bob, again, everyone's wanting to know, how long are we going to be in this situation and seeing these strong winds?
Yeah, think about it. Just 24 hours ago, 36 hours ago, we were saying, because we thought the system may slow down, we could be dealing with this for 36 hours, maybe 48 hours. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be that, but it's not going to be over in the next 2 hours either. I know we had some calls coming into our Venice call center, or our call center here from Venice. A young woman wanting to know, when is it going to end? It just keeps coming. The winds just keep roaring. Let me tell you, the center of the storm is about 35, 40 miles wide. It's moving at 10 miles an hour, so you can expect this constant battering of heavy rainfall and wind for at least 4 hours. We started a couple of hours ago, so you still have a couple of hours remaining there in Venice, and that includes Northport and Port Charlotte and also Inglewood. So stay with it, stay strong. This is the graphic I was working on here to show you. Still the projection of 6 to 10 feet of storm surge from the middle of Longboat Key all the way down to Inglewood. That's simply because we may still be seeing a lot of northwesterly wind. Once the storm gets north of our latitude, we're going to start to see that northerly push of water around the center, which is still over land. It's not going to strengthen. These numbers have come down a couple of feet since the last advisory, which is good. You'll never, I would say, see this again. 12 to 18 feet, at least we don't ever want to see it again. For Charlotte Harbor, this is going to be devastation here, you guys. You know, we can't really get a grasp of it because you can't really see it, right, and the damage it's causing. But I can tell you from just experience in the past of looking at things, you're going to see houses that were flattened. You're going to see structures that were just wiped off their foundation. I mean, Fort Myers right now, buildings only a single story were completely inundated and covered with water. On top of that, you've got the battering waves. These waves were big, and the force of those waves are strong enough to just destroy a home. And that's going to be a big deal going on. 12 to 18 foot, that's a historic storm surge. And 4 to 6 feet right there, still in the Tampa Bay area. So still a problem as we move through time. It's not over yet, though. As I mentioned, wind speeds now out of the northeast into Manatee County. They're picking up there. Anna Maria 52 at times, Duet 55, 64, Mayaca City 65 at Old Mayaca. And those winds continue to stay stronger down to our south. Still hurricane force in Rotunda, Northport, and Port Charlotte. They are changing direction a little bit. So that means the center is pushing off further off to the east and north, which is a good thing. We don't want to see that stall, and it's not going to stall as we look through time. And there it is. It continues to move off to the northeast. Arcadia, the next city up here in, again, DeSoto County. You're going to start to see that eye wall enter into your picture. Already getting there, but stronger winds will follow right on in with that center of low pressure and that eye, if you will, moving through Charlotte County. It's quiet right over I-75 from Port Charlotte all the way down to near the Lee County border there. And Lakewood Ranch, Sarasota, Siesta Key, seeing some heavy rainfall. Unfortunately, it's coming right there into Northport. That's where it's hitting hard. Inglewood, too, and Venice, so it's not letting up. I know in Venice, give it another hour and a half, another hour, and things will start to calm down when we get away from this eye wall and we start to get into still some bands out there. It's not going to be totally great news, but at least it'll be better than what you're seeing right now. And it is tough going, folks, in that area. And I'm sure emergency management officials are monitoring this area, and that's going to be a big problem, I think, over the upcoming 24 hours, just seeing all the rainfall wash down in that same location. So here's your high-res forecast model. The core, the main core of the strongest winds are going to stay away from, it looks like, Bradenton, Palmetto, Parrish, close to Duet, Wauchula, you're going to get that core. Arcadia getting that core. Someone asked me in the newsroom, are we done with the highest winds here in Sarasota? Well, not quite yet. We just had a 78-mile-an-hour wind gust reported at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport, and they're north of us. So we're not done yet, but we will see improving conditions once we get past the 8 o'clock hour. And notice I said improving, not great, but improving. Once we're past the 8 o'clock hour, most locations here, Bradenton, Sarasota, Venice, Longboat Key, Anna Maria Island, all the way down into and around Venice, will see improving weather conditions, especially after 8 o'clock. Unfortunately, it won't be the case into our interior counties, Hardy, DeSoto, and Highlands County. That's when you'll see your heaviest wind tonight as you move through Sebring and Avon Park. It's going to still stay strong, still stay rough. 10:45, here we go. Rain starting to shut down a little bit. There'll still be showers. There'll still be squally weather. Even overnight in the morning, you'll feel that wind and you'll try to get some sleep, but at least you'll know that the storm itself is not going to come back here. It's not going to re-intensify. It's not going to mill around. You know, that's a real good thing because hurricanes can do that. We saw this one might do that at one point, and some of the forecast models just kind of meandering right here off the coast of Manatee County for 36 hours. You wouldn't believe how terrible that would be if that were to happen. So we are lucky in some respects, but boy, unlucky in a lot when I talk about storm surge and the devastation that you're going to see right here on ABC 7 over the upcoming days on our newscast from Fort Myers and Charlotte Harbor. It is amazing. I tell you, Summer and Nerissa, you don't see anything like that. You know, everyone talks about the wind with the hurricanes, but storm surge it's just unrelenting, and it destroys large buildings in some cases. So it'll be interesting to see.
A lot of cleanup expected in that area. It's unfortunate to see.
In these storms, it's like you said, someone is going to, maybe we dodged a bullet, but someone somewhere in that cone is going to be affected extremely. So
we're sorry to see that.
Right.
All right, well, we want to show you this live video. Now, this is 191, mile marker 191 on I-75. This is the River Road area close to Venice, or in the Venice area, and you can see the storm is just coming down. The rain is coming in, camera shaking, and very powerful in that area. So the storm is really hitting this area hard at this moment.
Looks wet and wild.
I don't want to be out in that.
There's a reason why you're supposed to stay inside and not drive, because a video like that, there's the proof right there. We have some other video people have been sending in. Look at this, another palm tree. This is the mood. This is the mood right now, showing some tree and wind damage. This is in Lakewood Ranch, sent in by David Semro. I hope I'm saying your name right, but as you can see, even Lakewood Ranch feeling the punch of Ian.
Yes, really that area is getting a lot of rain and wind. And we want to show you another shot from our viewer, Ted Macy, taking some video in Venice from Jacaranda Boulevard area. Again, Ted Macy, Wow, look at that, just ripping the pool cage, the screen off the pool cage, just whipping on by. They say they've received nearly 12 inches of rain in this area off of Jacaranda West. A beautiful area, and it's just taking a beating today with this rain.
That is
Stay safe.
Frightening, and I would be worried about that water coming up into the pool, and that's very likely with, you know, the water is getting higher. This is what hurricanes do. So now we're going to go to Rebecca Vargas because she has a story. Families getting creative as they wait out the storm. And Rebecca Vargas, Rebecca's in the newsroom right there. She's got some more videos and photos to share with us. Rebecca.
Yes, ladies, it's really fun to see this. The kiddos across the Suncoast are taking this storm in stride, and they're making forts, and they're even trying their hand at forecasting. Check this out. A little meteorologist in training, Emily in Sarasota, sending in this video to us of her son, Harrison, forecasting the weather in his rain boots, of course, at home, right alongside meteorologist John Scalzi. You know, we could really use his help here in the Weather Center with all of this stuff coming in. I know John, Mike, and our chief, Bob Harrigan, would love to have Harrison. You're doing a great job. And right now, we see the Arcady family there in Parrish hunkering down in their safe part of their home and their safe shelter. They lost power, so they tell me that their kids are resting in the safe place. They're using glow sticks and Tupperware for light. They're calling this their fort. I think we have another photo to show you of these guys soaking it in and enjoying it with their little pup too. But they are in between naps, just playing some games. They're getting creative using glow sticks. They're putting it in Tupperware instead of using the flashlights, and they're having a lot of fun with it. And all you can do really is try to hunker down with your loved ones and get through it, and that's exactly what they're doing. So ladies, we'll send it back to you. Please continue to bring or send us your videos and your photos. We love to see it and get a little inside look to how you guys are hunkering down during this storm.
You brought a nice feeling in a time of such stress right now. So thank you, Rebecca.
Silver lining. I mean, you got the downtime. You're stuck in the house. What a great way to spend some family time together. Nobody has to go to work. So another reason why to shelter in place, be safe, and spend some quality time with your family.
Slow down.
I like the glow sticks. I would have not. And you know that you always have glow sticks around the house when you have kids. So that's a good idea. Very good idea. And that meteorologist, the future meteorologist.
I love that too. I loved his boots. So cute in the boots. All right. Well, on a more serious note, though, we have a lot of folks out there without power at this hour, and unfortunately, I'm hearing more and more people are losing their electricity. So we're going to go back to Mike Modrick right now with an update on this. Mike?
The power outages are going to get close to 1 million people in this storm without power. But I want to show you this video. This video, can you give me the split screen here so I can kind of describe it as we go on? All right, this actually was sent to me by my wife, the lovely Lisa Modrick, and that's the bay. That's kind of the north side of the bay. And what you're seeing there at the bottom is no water. This is high tide. We're a little bit after high tide, really, though. But with all of this rain, you would normally not see that much ground. You see the way the palm trees are going. You see the way the water is just moving with the gusty winds. That's the situation. This is in parts of Manatee County right there. The wind gusts, some of the latest wind gusts that we've had a report of an 81-mile-per-hour gust in Bradenton at the city center, 77-mile-per-hour gust at Bradenton Beach. Now, that was about a half hour ago. I have not seen that since. The wind gusts have not been quite as strong, but of course you can imagine the reports, as power outages happen, reports are fewer and fewer to be had. Last report out of Lakewood Ranch was a 57-mile-per-hour gust, Myakka City and Longboat Key at 46, Arcadia at 50. As far as the power outage index, we use this to talk about where power will be going out potentially, and by the 8 o'clock time frame we're still looking at some of that into Hardy and DeSoto counties. You see from Wauchula down to Arcadia. So if you haven't lost power yet in those areas, it's a little more likely. Put this into motion and new power outages become less likely as we get into 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Now this is the radius of wind speeds. So by 7 o'clock in the morning, the orange is the higher a higher range of tropical storm force winds. So think of that as the 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds. The yellow shading would be the 39 to 50 mile per hour winds. Almost all of us are still in that at 7 o'clock in the morning, at 11 o'clock in the morning, but by 8 o'clock tomorrow night, most of us are out of that. The power crews don't go out until the winds get under 35 miles per hour. That's a safety issue. We have Florida Power Light crews, we have Duke Energy crews, we have crews from all over the Southeast. I can guarantee you that. I've done several stories with Florida Power and Light and the way they stage for these storms. So we have people from all over the southeastern United States and maybe other areas too. They'll get out as soon as they can, but as soon as they can probably will be Thursday night and into Friday. So if you don't have power now, you may not have it for a while. Again, the rainfall totals, been talking about that, but they continue to go up. We've got that area between Venice and Englewood up to 17 inches now. We've got Northport up to Osprey, 9 inches. The Lakewood Ranch area is at 6.3. Out around Sarasota, around 7.7, Wauchula 5.0, and then around Bradenton at 3.8 inches. And let's get a little reading here at Parrish as well. 4.7 inches for you there around Parrish. This is a serious storm. Somebody had asked me about Sebring earlier today on a Facebook Live. Sebring's over here to the right, and that's at 2.7. Lake Placid area, that's at 3.8 inches. There's a little bullseye here in that same general area at 5.9 inches. But by far, we have the highest of the rainfall totals right here. Bob and I were talking about the fact that Ian is probably going to, well, Bob said definitely, the name's going to be retired. There will never be another Ian. This is the 13th storm with an I in the beginning of the name to be retired, or that will be retired. We've had 12 so far. Of course, we don't have it officially yet, but I'm sure we will. And I did a story, one of the first stories I did for Discovering the Sun Coast was about the native blessing. You've heard it, most likely, that there's a native blessing that protects us from hurricanes here on the Sun Coast. I think we can put that one to bed now. There is no native blessing. This is a massive storm. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say this is the most massive storm, certainly in terms of landfall, of this season so far. I mean, Fiona was big, but Fiona didn't really hit land until it went on up into Canada as post-tropical. Bob, would you agree? This is the
100%. Yeah, this is it. This is the biggest storm to make landfall this season. It's just incredible, and it hit right here on the West Coast.
So the native blessing doesn't exist. We can put that one to rest. And if you want to see that one, if you're having a little time, you can Google Discovering the Sun Coast. Does a native blessing protect us from hurricanes? And you'll find the story, and you'll see it was all a made-up story anyway. It was a made-up story to have a great party, and
it was a good one. Yeah, check it out.
Story, though, that's what I was going to say. I enjoyed that story. So I'll think that maybe we're still being blessed. We didn't get directly hit. So.
Well, that's true. I had somebody send me an email yesterday. He said, hey, the native blessing had held for us. And I said, yeah, let's see how things develop Wednesday afternoon before we say that.
I'm sorry. That's right. We got to get through this. I won't say that.
Exactly.
All right, we have a phone call we need to...
We have David Verinder, the CEO of Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System, on the line to talk about the situation in the hospitals. Are you there, David?
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I know you guys are having a hard time right now. I mean, how did you evacuate? What's the situation? What's the mood over at SMH?
Well, we're here. We're here taking care of patients. We have about 3,500 people at this campus, a combination of this campus and our Venice campus and our Northport campus. And we are, we're in business. We're taking care of patients. We are doing what we need to do to support the community.
And you still have power at this hour?
Well, we went on generator power at 7:30 this morning as a precaution, which is kind of a standard operating procedure for us. So we are on our own power.
Well, that's good, because I'm reading other hospitals in Florida had to evacuate patients. Does your hospital, obviously you have a plan in place just in case, plan B, if all fails?
Well, if all were to fail, we definitely have a lot of backup plans, which require a lot of manual work here. It certainly would not be something that was ideal, but it's something that we would be prepared for, and it would be something that would make sure that our patients were safe and our staff were safe.
And David, what would you like the community to know right now? You're a very well-known hospital. A lot of folks in our area visit your hospital. What would you like to tell the community at this hour?
I think that what we would like to tell the community is that this organization's been here for 100 years. We are a very trusted part of this community. We're a trusted part of the safety net of this community, and we're here for this community during good times and bad. We are up and operational. We're fully functional. I do want to take a moment and just talk about our staff. Our staff is just like everyone else in this community. They have family and friends throughout the area. They needed to leave their homes, some cases evacuate their homes, leave their families to come here and take care of the most needy people in this community. And they're the true heroes in Sarasota right now, in my mind. Okay, these people have put their lives on hold and will have put their lives on hold for days, simply to do this and rush into a dangerous and difficult situation. So I think we owe, from everyone, from our housekeepers to our nurses to our technologists and our physicians, we owe them all a great debt of thanks.
No doubt, healthcare workers are definitely heroes. Are you seeing any weather-related injuries or patients or things like that coming in right now to your hospital?
We are not, which is typical of how this works, because EMS shuts down once the wind speeds get to a certain level, and we've certainly crossed that at this point. So we have some patients in our ER, but there's not a lot of patients. With that being said, we know that there is a backup of EMS calls that as soon as the wind speeds get down to a safe level, that there are a lot of backup calls. We understand that. We're prepared for kind of the phase 2 of this, which is we're going to be inundated by patients in our ER as soon as this storm subsides. So our people right now are prepping for that. Our nurses and doctors and the rest of our staff are making sure that the rooms are ready, our supplies are ready to receive those patients and go 100 miles an hour at that point.
Oh, yeah, you're going to be very busy, I'm sure.
That's reassuring. So thank you. Thank you for that. All right, David Verinder, who is the CEO of Sarasota Memorial Hospital. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, well, we have, we're going to go to Chief Bob. Rebecca's on deck, so I'll be leaving the desk, and Rebecca's going to be joining us, but we're going to toss it over right now to Bob, who has more information for you, of course.
And if you're just joining us right now, this has made landfall. Ian has made landfall as a Category 4 storm, 155-mile-an-hour winds at the exact same location, 2004, August 13th, when Hurricane Charlie made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane. And that happened this afternoon, shortly after 2 o'clock. And you can see Cayo Costa, that's the landmass that it made landfall over. The center of the storm now is over Punta Gorda and in parts of Port Charlotte, not everywhere. Arcadia, I told you you're going to start getting some heavy rainfall and wind. You're seeing that eye wall now with winds up to 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, gusts even higher than that. And I talked to some folks, at least some of our phone folks, talked to some people in Venice. They're going, when is this going to end? This is a big concern, you guys. We don't know it because right now because you can't see anything, but rainfall has been excessive. I'm going to go over that a little bit. I know Mike's been handling that, but I'm going to show you some things here. Northeastern portions of Sarasota County now. Lakewood Ranch, you're going to start to see some bigger winds, some heavier rainfall. It's going to brush by you there. I think the bulk of it will stay to your south and east. I'm not going to leave Northport out of the mix either. You've been getting hit hard, just the same as Inglewood has. And this is the scenario that was going to play out somewhere where this center made landfall, and it certainly is doing that right now. And the heavy rainfall and offshore flow, it's been mainly in Sarasota Bay. It emptied out, similar into 1960 when Hurricane Donna basically moved into east central Sarasota County in 1960, emptied the entire Tampa Bay out and Sarasota Bay, and we're seeing that now with this historic storm, which brought historic storm surge to Charlotte Harbor and will continue to do so. That doesn't just recede and go away, as onshore flow will continue to pile water right into Charlotte Harbor and Fort Myers. Unfortunately, the Fort Myers beach has water standing at, again, single-story height already and expected to go higher. So a big deal here. I told you about the rainfall, right? Just to take a look at the estimate of rainfall. This is over the last 24 hours now, the last 24 hours. And you see that bullseye right there between Venice and Inglewood. Get a look at that, 16.2 inches. And these numbers are only going to climb. Punta Gorda, 7.6. Northport, 10.2. As we said all along for the past several days, we're going to see anywhere from 5 to 10 inches over a wide area with isolated amounts up to 15 to 20. And we're certainly seeing that. And it's not over yet for Inglewood. Osprey right there. Take a look at that. Over 6 or 8.5 inches. And in Venice, we're getting 9.8 inches of rainfall. If we take a closer look and zoom into this, we'll show you down to street level. We go. This is, again, the past 24 hours. There's Inglewood. There's the heaviest rainfall you see right there. And this is where the flooding is significant right now. 16.8 inches of rainfall. Now, we'll bring it up to the north. We go and into Bradenton and Manatee County. Still a lot, but not nearly as much as we're seeing right here. And Wauchula, Arcadia, you're going to get your fair share here in the next couple of hours. People wanting to know, when's this all going to be over? Well, it's not going to be over for at least the next couple of hours into Venice. I would say an hour and a half's time, you're going to start to see that rain lessen and the wind calm down a bit with this major hurricane. Still a major hurricane. We've got an update coming. I think it just came in right now. It's still a Category 4 hurricane, even despite the fact it's over land. And then it moves off to the northeast. I mentioned 645, Arcadia, Wauchula. That's the core. That's the 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts. There it goes, out of our viewing area by late tonight and tomorrow morning. That at least is the strong winds that we're talking, the hurricane force winds. They're going to be out of here quickly, at least a lot quicker than we thought just a couple of days ago, which is a good sign. Those winds have turned now. Instead of the easterly direction that we saw most of the day into Longboat Key and also Sarasota, they're out of the northeast now. Anywhere from 40 to 50 miles an hour, a little higher near Warm Mineral Springs. Northport, you're still at hurricane force or near there. And in Port Charlotte at 75, 77 into Placida. I know it's high, but it's actually come down just a little bit over that area. The area in green that you see right there, that covers a large chunk of Sarasota. That's a flash flood warning. That's a flash flood warning for Northport and into Osprey and Nokomis, as well as into Mayaca City and up into Siesta Key, all the way over east of I-75. That's a large swath of land there to be under a flood, in fact, a flash flood warning at this point, which isn't too uncommon for a tropical landfalling hurricane, especially a major one like we saw today, which continues to will continue to cause problems on the East Coast, where there are hurricane warnings up along the east coast of Florida, simply because it's going to keep its strength and hold together, it looks like, all the way through the next 24 hours. So amazing storm, historic one at that, too. And I hate to say it, I know we're dealing with this one now, but we still got a little bit of the season left to go.
2 months.
Oh my goodness, it's
October
hard
to
to believe.
November.
I know, I just let people know, you know.
You said this all along, though. You know, it had been quiet, and you kept saying, we still have time left, and look.
That area in the Northwest Caribbean and the Southeast Gulf was untapped energy that had been sitting there for the whole season. Nothing had gone through it, so it was just a lot of fuel waiting to go, and sure enough.
And one thing that will happen with this storm, because this has been so big and so powerful, there's going to be some cooling of the Gulf waters in the aftermath of this. Will that have a long-term help for us? Maybe, maybe not, because October is still a big month in the Gulf, and October is a month where storms can move in our direction. Of course, let's face it, what are we? We're September 28th. We're almost October here. All right, I want to show you power totals. I told you about an hour ago that I thought would be at 1 million by this time. We are. 1,103,000 people without power, in Florida here at this point. Now, the Florida Power and Light total out of this is 719,000 people. Florida Power and Light serves Charlotte County, Sarasota, Manatee, Hardee, and DeSoto counties. Those are our main 5 counties, and of course covers other counties as well. But that's our main counties, so we're a part of that 719. Lee County is south of Charlotte County. Lee County is where Fort Myers is. Lee County Electric Co-op is 158,000 people without power also. This is unbelievable. I had been watching Puerto Rico. You know, Fiona came over, I believe, yeah, it was Fiona who went over Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico had 1 million people without power for a really, really, really long time. Puerto Rico still has over 300,000 people without power. But we've exceeded them at this point, and we've got a long way to go. We're still in that losing power phase, unfortunately. So some of you who have not lost power yet, maybe in DeSoto County or Hardee County, it's not looking good for you. You're more likely than not to have power outages, trees falling down with that as well. Show you this video. This is another one from my lovely wife. And these are the winds in Manatee County. And the rainfall has not been that spectacular there, but you see the way the trees, these are some mostly oak trees, some palms are mixed in there as well. But this is why we're having downed trees and downed power downed limbs, which of course lead to the downed power lines. So much of Florida Power and Light's work has been to give us those concrete power poles. And those concrete power poles are great because they can withstand up to Category 4, which is basically what we had down to the south. So that's great, but the lines themselves, if they haven't been undergrounded, the lines themselves, and of course it's the main power trunks, the main power routes that are still above ground in many cases. When trees fall on that, debris falls on that, that causes more of the power outages. So that video was pretty spectacular. It's a little bit kind of a slowed down version here with the way I imported it into my computer system. Let's just see if I can run that again. Yeah, you see, it's rock and roll weather with the power the winds the way they're going there. All right, these are the airports here. Venice, 73 degrees, of course, with the rain. Do we really care about the temperature? You know, maybe we do, because some of you without power are also going to be without air conditioning. That just goes to common sense there. So it's hot, it's going to be warm, and it's going to be a humid night if you don't have the air conditioning, but at least it's not 88 degrees or 80 degrees. 79-mile-per-hour wind gusts there at Venice with 54-mile-per-hour steady winds. This is Punta Gorda, the last reported wind gust at 123 miles per hour. System might be kind of stuck on that. I haven't seen this one move in a while, so I'll check that out. Fort Myers, 96-mile-per-hour wind gust, and then SRQ, 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts, the most recent report, the steady winds at 40 miles per hour. So we can get a lot of destruction. Technically speaking, here at SRQ, this is not tornado force, hurricane force winds. The steady at 40 is just tropical storm force winds, even though we have gusts up to hurricane strength. So, you know, winds may get a little bit stronger yet here over the course of the next few hours, but the gusts, of course, will be substantial for us. All right, I'm going to dive into some more rainfall totals in a little bit. I'm going to have to do a little bit of research here. So, Summer and Rebecca, I'll toss it back to you.
Mike, thank you so much. So important to get this information as we continue to follow this. And what's even more important is as you do lose power, there are still ways that you can watch us to keep up with this continuous coverage. If you lose power, we've got the app and the website.
So we'll show that app actually. So you can download the ABC 7 First Alert weather app. All you need to do is hold up your iPhone and take a picture, or go like you're taking a picture, and it will download and take you to the app. And you can also watch us live from our website. A lot of folks don't realize that. Just go to mysuncoast.com. We always have a live stream on the web for you to view.
That's right. And we also have the radio option, Summer. Some of those radio numbers for you would be in Bradenton, it's 95.3, Sarasota 106.9, and Venice 91.7, as well as the AM.
That's right. Lots of options there. And let's not forget about Facebook. You can watch us live on Facebook, always giving updates on our Facebook page, the ABC 7 Facebook page. And again, that app, though, great information there. So you can always catch us. whenever you need to.
And if you have questions, we have had our phone bank going on. Just a reminder, they're here, right here live, taking your phone calls. That number is on your screen, 941-552-3127. We want to hear from you if you have any questions or concerns. They've been great about this summer.
Yeah, they have been monitoring the phones and taking phone calls from concerned viewers since last night. So we appreciate their time that they're taking away from their family and friends right now to make sure our community is safe, which is great to see. All right. Well, we have a reporter at the Sarasota County Emergency Operations Command Center. James Hill has been there since yesterday, monitoring all updates and information coming out of there. So let's hear what James Hill has to say.
Here in Sarasota at the EOC, authorities say sheltering in place is one of the best decisions you can make during this time.
So obviously we're looking at, incoming damage reports. I don't have any exact details to give you. I'll continue to work with you to have those reports go out. Wind damage, you're looking at, debris, obviously that's being an issue. Power lines is a big issue right now. We're asking individuals to stay inside. If you see power lines go down, do not approach them, what have you. Obviously, we're also looking at storm surge. We're a coastal community, right? And that's really important for the coast, but also you have to think about our communities that are near our rivers, all right? So as the rain continues, you're going to see a rise in all of the water areas.
Unfortunately, things like mobile homes, there's not a whole lot you can do. That's why we emphasize all mobile homes are part of level A. We wanted everybody to leave those mobile homes and get to a safe location, because a mobile home will start being destroyed in low winds, like 80, 90, 100-mile-an-hour winds. We're talking 140, 150 in the eye wall. That's very destructive. The other thing that these hurricanes bring are tornadoes. We're under a tornado watch. There's going to be a lot of tornado activity. And then the rains and the flooding come after that. So a lot of hazards out there, and I appreciate you guys being here and getting our messages out.
Authorities also say downed power lines are also very problematic, and staying away from it could help save your life. Reporting from Sarasota, James Hill with ABC 7, your local station.
All right, the message, stay safe, stay home, stay out of the way.
And to see so many personnel there, and they're locking it down because they want to make sure that the community is safe right now and after Ian passes. So there's so many personnel working away from their families and loved ones to make sure that we're all safe. So that was
hospital staff, nurses, within the hospitals, law enforcement, our meteorologists, the news folks here. So yes.
And those emergency crews.
We thank everyone in the community for keeping our community safe.
Right. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the latest on this track. Bob?
You guys bring up an important point, too. It's the indirect deaths that can be a big problem. That occurs after a lot of the wind has calmed down. We're talking people on their roofs trying to repair some leaks, maybe are cutting trees down and getting injured with some of the equipment that they may not be familiar with. And we got to worry about that carbon monoxide poisoning. That does occur with some of these generators that people start up. Obviously, they put them sometimes in their garage thinking that someone's going to steal them or something. You can't keep it in your garage. If you're new to the, again, generator field, you just bought one maybe prior to the arrival of this storm, read the directions thoroughly. Know that you have to keep that outside of the garage or home. It's got to be in a well-ventilated area. And if you're worried about it being stolen, because sometimes that happened after some of the hurricanes and systems out in Miami at one point where people were chaining their generator to trees and locking them up because people heard the hum of the generator and they knew they were a valuable item, they would steal them. So that is sometimes a problem. I don't think it's going to be a problem here, though, along the west coast of Florida after this storm, which is a historic storm, made landfall at 155-mile-an-hour winds. Look at the winds now at 140. That's a real good sign. That's expected when a hurricane goes over land. It loses the fuel, which is the warm water, in this case, the Gulf of Mexico, which caused us to go from a Category 2 hurricane to a 3 to a strong Category 4 throughout the morning, and then make and slam shore there into Charlotte Harbor and Cayo Costa. The millibars, again, the millibar pressure is starting to come up. The lowest I saw it was 937. Now, I may have missed it as I did have to sleep a little bit this morning, but 945 millibars, that's coming up too, and that's a good sign at this point. Not a good sign is that it's still around Venice and Northport and Inglewood, and also it's got to go through a lot of the inland counties, but notice everything's clear now in terms of that system jogging left or jogging right. It's going to stay in this cone of uncertainty, unfortunately, for Wauchula and Arcadia and eventually Orlando. Orlando's going to see a big storm. Look at this, even a Category 1 up into Polk County near Winter Haven. Gusts up to 105 miles an hour. So the power outages will continue across the state. As we heard from Mike, it's already surpassed 1 million folks without power here along the entire state, for that matter, but generally speaking, from South Florida all the way up into Central Florida right now. And that forecast path takes it as a tropical storm into the Carolina coast. I know some people evacuated up into the Carolinas. If they're going to stay up there, they're going to get a lot of rainfall, but not the kind of storm we saw down here. And we're still seeing with Ian. This is what I'm talking about, the training effect. And this is something we have to watch. You know, we're not hearing a lot. We just know there's a flood emergency happening right here, and it's only going to get worse. Someone called from Venice, want to know when's it coming to an end. Just about there, at least for a little while. That eye wall has expanded, and that's typically what happens. When these centers move on land and they're strong, they'll weaken, but they're weakening and they're throwing out their winds further off into the distance, and that rain band, look how it expanded. So no longer is it an eye wall or wrapped around the storm. It's now becoming an expanding storm northward, bringing torrential rains, flooding rains, and historic rains across parts of Venice, Northport, and down into Inglewood. We showed you that earlier. Mike's been keeping an eye on that for you. It's just repeated over the same area over and over again. We have 15 to 16 inches already estimated totals over the past 24 hours. There's the high-res model of the potential for hurricane force winds is slowly going to be coming to an end, obviously for the coastal locations as we move further away from the event and it heads off to the northeast. So Wauchula and Arcadia, and even into Highlands County, Sebring, and also Avon Park, you're going to see the potential for wind gusts up to 100 miles an hour here, and the timing of it, got to look at it. It's 9:15, still raging over Highlands County and into Hardy County, eventually getting clear and out of here by 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. At least tomorrow, when you arise, it's going to be okay. It's not going to be the best of days. There'll be a lot of cleanup going on, obviously picking up tree limbs, and just take it easy out there because it will start to get pretty warm again, although it's going to be pretty nice with that wind out of the north now. And you can see it not too nice out there at Palmetto, 36. We're looking at Ellington now, 41. Parrish at 47, 52 at Lakewood Ranch, 41 in Sarasota, and 38 in Siesta Key, 53 in Osprey, and still 62 mile-an-hour wind. And again, Old Myakka, 72 in Port Charlotte. These numbers are coming down slightly, which is good. We're getting that northerly wind now there. It's going to turn eventually onto a west wind later on tonight. 58 in Inglewood. I know this doesn't seem too light. It's a lot lighter than it was just about 2 hours ago when those winds were up to 80 miles an hour at times. Titan radar picture. The area you can see outlined in green right there, that is a flash flood warning. It covers a big chunk. That's where that big actual feeder band, if you will, or eye wall has expanded throughout this region. And we're getting excessive rainfall amounts. And even along this river and stream, the Peace River and Horse Creek, boy, that's going to feed all down into near Northport. Well, I don't want to show you that's a 7-day forecast. It hasn't been updated yet. I'm going to try and update that in a little bit. New tornado watch has been put up for the East Coast. Our tornado watch, we heard Ed McCrane, the EOC director from Sarasota County, talking with James just a minute ago, saying about the tornadoes. The threat is lessening for us. It's typically on the outer bands that we start to see those tornadoes, and a tornado watch is in effect along the East Coast. Not so much here, but boy, we've had tornado-like conditions with winds gusting as high as 70, 80, even 90 miles an hour at times here along the west coast of Florida. And it's not lessening. It could get a little stronger in Bradenton. The winds could be picking up there, and you could see some more power outages even into Manatee County, especially East Manatee County. Of hours, so it's not over yet. Over 1 million people without power, and we'll have much more coming up in just a little bit. Again, we'll have much more coming up in just a little bit. Back to you guys. All
right, Bob, we are going to take a live look at some action along Englewood Beach. We have checked into that camera every so often, but right now we are really seeing the beach here getting pounded. Because of how bad the torrential rains are there. But yeah, that's our beauty shot usually that we're taking every day.
Not beautiful today. Very rainy, windy, and you can just see the sand and everything flying all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Very strong.
All right, we want to take a look at a picture from a viewer, and this time we are showing you another uprooted tree. We'll be showing you that in just a minute. Lots of activity going on, and as you can imagine, there you go. Wow, that's a big tree also. It has been there a while, and the wind and the saturated ground forced that tree to uproot. So this is in the Venice Gardens area. Yeah. We'll be seeing a lot of that, I think, around the area.
I think so, too. And storm surge, that has been a major concern for so many people heading into this hurricane, and it's already causing a lot of damage across the west coast of Florida this afternoon, especially in Naples. So let's take a look at that video.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of rain.
This is what storm surge looks like. You're looking at a parking garage. All of that water pushed onshore by the storm, inundating. You can hear all of look at those, terrible. The cars going off, all the alarms. We're looking at totaled vehicles at this point.
They're at a total loss for sure. Look how high that water level is.
It is just, it's moving really like a river at this point.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Had you not said a parking garage, I would have thought, well, that's supposed to be that way. Definitely not.
No, I mean, feet, you can only imagine feet of water when you see just how high up it is to those vehicles. And it's just really, this is what storm surge looks like, and the destructive nature that we've, of course, have been talking about for days.
Warned about.
Right, but Naples, that whole area, there's so much water that surrounds it, so that's what they're dealing with down there.
All right, let's take a look at another video sent in to us. This is showing the strong winds and rain in the River Point neighborhood. This is in Bradenton. And this was sent in to us by a viewer, Allison S. Allison, thank you for sending this in. Wow, very, very strong there.
Very strong. It looks like they're along the water, some sort of canal there, some sort of tarp or...
the boat?
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah. It's the boat. It's hard to tell from this angle. And then you've got the pool cage, so hopefully all of that can withstand this. A lot going on.
Getting some damage there, that's for sure.
Well, let's get over to Mike Meteorologist. That's a good name.
MM.
And Mike Modrick, our meteorologist, with the latest on what you're seeing, Mike.
That canopy is what you call a former canopy, because I don't know if it's going to survive all of those winds. Take a look at some of the wind gusts that I have. I just got these off of my site here. In Bradenton, and this is the municipal center there in Bradenton, 78-mile-per-hour wind gusts. These are the gusts. These were reported at 5 o'clock. At Bradenton Beach, still some 77-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Lakewood Ranch, the gusts have gone down a little bit. It was 57-mile-per-hour gusts about an hour ago, now 47, which is still very significant. Mayaca City's been holding around 47, 48 last hour or so. Longboat Key down a little bit from previously, 46-mile-per-hour gusts. Arcadia up a bit at 50-mile-per-hour gusts. You're likely to see those winds increase in Arcadia in DeSoto County as the storm continues to push to the northeast here. This is Manatee County. This is an area of southern Bradenton. You see the way the trees, the oak trees, are blowing in the wind, and this can just cause tremendous amounts of damage. Last report, Florida Power and Light, 1,103,000 power outages in Florida. 719,000. It's hard for me to say the 100,000. It just doesn't compute. 719,000 are Florida Power and Light customers. So that for us would be mainly Charlotte, Sarasota, Manatee, Hardy, DeSoto counties. Lee County Electric Co-op with 158,000. 158,000. Did I do that right? I've been saying these numbers.
It's all starting to blend.
It really is. So, yeah, pardon the senior moment if that's what this is. These are rainfall totals now. I just got this off my site. This is the Charlotte County Fire Station, number 15 EMS station. They're reporting 12.44 inches of rain. Venice, this one site reported over 14 inches, just barely. Bradenton, this is at near the downtown area, 5.5. Lakewood Ranch, Lakewood Ranch is so huge, we get a number of different totals. Had some totals that have been closer to 6 inches already. This particular one on the south side of Lakewood Ranch was at 3.86. Palmetto with 4.29. That's in the northern side of Manatee County, of course, and Ona, which is in Hardy County, heading out to the east with 4¼ inches of rain out of that. These are our airports here. 79-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Venice, Punta Gorda. 123-mile-per-hour gusts is still what's showing up. So I'm going to take that as for real here. I'm going to double check that and triple check that when next time I have a chance to do a little research here. Fort Myers with the 96-mile-per-hour gusts right now, and then SRQ, this is for real, 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts, steady winds at 41 miles per hour. Now this is, what are we, 5:28 in the afternoon. This is about where the winds were supposed to be by this time, but this time onwards, we kind of expected the winds to be even stronger at SRQ. Still might get a little bit stronger, but this whole storm system has changed a bit. Obviously, it's farther south in the track than even yesterday we thought it would be. And I'll just put this one to rest. I did several Facebook Lives over the weekend as we were monitoring the track of this storm. And as we all know, if you were watching, the European model was giving this landfall on southwest side of Florida, pretty close to where the storm made landfall, whereas the American computer model was having it much farther out to the west, out to sea, and we were all pulling for the American computer model, of course. But I got to say, the European computer model did it. The European computer model was more right than the American was. Once we got to, I don't even remember, maybe 36 hours before or 48 hours before landfall, 48 hours prior to this, there was one run of the European that had it out to sea a bit more, but then it tracked back into southwest Florida. So I got to give the European computer model props, but Bob, you can attest to this. You don't trust a computer model. You never do. Agree?
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to look at that. We are looking at, Mike, different modeling techniques. And, it's interesting to note the European model with the system there. Mike, I guess you're still on. There we go. There's the peak storm surge forecast. European model did not too good with, again, the storm we just had. What was it? Fiona. The week before, 5 days out, it had it going to West Palm Beach, the European did, whereas the GFS, the American model, did take it right through the Dominican Republic and then up toward Bermuda. So they flip-flop. The European has been pretty good, but the GFS is pretty good too. And I'll tell you what model did work really well, and it was well in advance of the GFS and the European. It was our in-house forecast model, and not to brag or anything, but it was interesting to note. I showed it a few days ago, going right on in and around Venice, and all the other models were still showing Tampa Bay and also north into Pinellas County, whereas ours, and it's again a high-res model, so it doesn't take into consideration the entire globe, and so it can be generated a lot quicker, just a couple of hours to run the model as opposed to 6 to 12 sometimes those global models do. But anyway, that's another story for another day. 4.6 feet right there. That's what we're expecting still. That's from the National Hurricane Center. I expect these to drop. We just got a new full-blown, again, advisory in just a half hour ago. And the storm is coming down in intensity. We showed you that it's down to 140. It was 155. That's the highest it got. And then 12 to 18 still into Charlotte Harbor. And all that water eventually has to empty out, and it's still piling on into Charlotte Harbor. So there's still some significant flooding going on there. You're going to see some incredible video of what's happened into Charlotte Harbor. Storm surge has the potential for killing the most people. That's the reason why evacuations are issued, because you can't run if you choose to stay out there in the barrier islands and a storm surge like that comes on shore. The pressure is coming up. That's another good sign. Next advisory coming in at 8. Still a 1 at Winter Haven. Look at that. Still a Category 1, similar to what we saw with Charlie when it moved through Orlando with 110-mile-an-hour wind gusts back in 2004. That's what Orlando recorded back in the day. It's still going to have some problems with South Carolina, too, as we move through time. This has just been tragic, you guys. I know you want to get out of this rainfall into Venice and South Venice and Northport. It just continues to move through there as it expands northward. That big field and shield of heavy rainfall now spreading into East Manatee County. and into western portions of DeSoto County, where you don't need it, right there at the Horse Creek and the Peace River. The eye, if you will, the center is becoming elongated. We're losing the southern and southeast edge of it. That's a good sign, but unfortunately, the heavy rain continues to hammer Venice all the way down to Inglewood and Northport, with even some lightning there. Not as much at Lakewood Ranch, and as Mike showed you, the gusts are starting to come down a little bit as we move through time. Here's that high-res forecast model showing it into central Florida and eventually off to the east coast. Gust, Anna Maria, 50, starting to lessen somewhat at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport. That looks good. 40 miles an hour in Ellington, 47 in Parrish. Duet, you're at 57, higher near the center or closer to it. Old Mayaca in the 60s there, and all down to the 60s and 50s here. So in Venice, things are starting to improve there. Not nearly as strong as it once was. It's coming from a different direction, and that can sometimes cause problems with the trees that were blown east, and now they're going to get blown south with that north to northwest wind. So it kind of loosens up the ground underneath them and allows more trees to fall. So that's still a danger. That's why it's advisable not to go out this time of evening, and you should stay indoors right through tomorrow morning until you get the all clear. But you can see the area in green is kind of outlined right there. Flash flood warning. That's a flash flood warning. Now this is a flood warning right here. Into the rivers there. That's the Peace River and the Horse Creek. But this is a flash flood warning, meaning that you're going to start to see, if you haven't already, water coming into homes in some of these cases. And that is covering a large chunk of Sarasota County at this point, where the bulk of the heavy rainfall has fallen. Live sweep of the radar. I want to show you this one last graphic here, and we'll see that rainfall total. I made the estimates for 24 hours. In the past 24 hours, you can see while the heavy surge was confined into Charlotte Harbor and down near Fort Myers, Sarasota is going to get the heaviest rain from Hurricane Ian, as rainfall totals will exceed 15 to 20 inches of rain in a short period of time. And I can tell you, having lived here for 38 years, I know that we're not seeing any video right now coming out of that area, but I can tell you right now, there are some homes that are flooded as a result of that much rain in that short period of time. Summer, Rebecca?
That is a lot of rain.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to wrap your brain around it. And of course, viewers, please send us your images. We're actually getting some images from Naples Fire Rescue Team, which, as we know, they've been inundated there, showing that incredible storm surge flooding their department.
Wow.
Look at that. That is past their knees, up their thighs and hips. That is just how much water they're wading through. These emergency crews are the ones that we need to get out there once this all, goes away. So it's really affecting everyone in that
is
area.
just so much water.
Incredible to see this fire truck here. Look at
devastating.
this. How deep it's up to their waistline there.
Yeah. Very dangerous conditions. Okay, and we want to show you some more videos sent in to us from Roland Bryan. He just sent this into our newsroom. Hurricane wind gust breaking a branch onto a picket fence. Woo, there you go. That was quite a large limb, too. And this happened just off of Talavast Road near Tuttle Avenue. Thank you for sending that in.
Yes, wow. And then thankfully we're not seeing too much damage there. But then we also have Betty Salmieri. Betty sent us in this video from Lakewood Ranch, where you can see some of the rain coming down there in her neighborhood and that standing water there in front of her home. Just those palm fronds swaying in the wind, and every once in a while you just see those huge gusts of wind coming through down the road.
Okay, and we have another video to show you right now from one of our viewers. This is video from downtown Bradenton. Ooh, and it shows a power transformer blowing up. This scene is likely playing out across the area this afternoon as Hurricane Ian and its winds and all the water moves across our state. Very dangerous. Be careful out there. Okay, and we want to remind all of you to download our ABC7 weather app.
Yes, and we've made it easy for you. Just look here at your screen, pull out your device. You can use your camera and scan these QR codes. That'll take you right to the free First Alert weather app, and that way you'll get all of the latest updates pushed right to your phone as they happen, and you can continue to watch us live if your power does in fact go out.
Yes, great tool to have. And another tool we have here at ABC7, we have a phone call center where we are taking live phone calls from residents with questions about this storm. All you need to do is call the number on your screen. That's 941-552-3232. 941-3127. Again, 941-552-3127. And they are there to answer any phone call you have that they are able to answer. I think.
Yeah, it's a great resource. Any questions you have, because there's a lot of questions, so they can clarify that for you. And we've got a lot of questions for meteorologist Mike Modrick, so let's get right over to him in the Weather Center. Mike, what do you have for us?
Some new rainfall totals, and of course the heaviest ones are to the south in our southernmost counties. 12.5 inches almost in Charlotte County, with Venice 14 inches in some areas. Report of Bradenton 5.5 now, and Lakewood Ranch with 3.86. Siesta Key, that's a new one. I just got this one at 4.82 inches coming in. Ona, which off to the east in Hardy County at 4.25 inches. The tally board, I feel like it's the Jerry Lewis telethon every time I come up with these numbers. But the Florida power outages now across the entire state, 1.295 million. Let's call it 1.3 million people without power in Florida associated with Ian. In Florida Power and Lights area in general, which most of us in our counties are Florida Power and Light, 8,930,000 people without power. So I think maybe in the next hour or so, as we're getting to 6:30 or 6:45, that Florida Power and Light number may be 1 million. Lee County Electric Co-op to the south, that's where Fort Myers is, 164,000 with that. All right, the radius of wind speeds. This is a computer-generated product. And you see the orange there. The orange area here is where we still have winds that are in the higher range of tropical storm force winds. So 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds. That's mostly out of our counties. Here's Manatee, here's Sarasota, here's Charlotte, here's DeSoto, here is Hardy County. We're out of that higher force of tropical force storm winds. We get to around 11:30 tomorrow morning. We're still in the yellow, which is the lower range of the tropical storm force winds. So think of that as the maybe 40 or 50 mile per hour gusts. But the power crews are not going out in that until we get out of that main range. So 9 o'clock tomorrow evening, maybe as early as 7 o'clock, we could have the winds quieting down enough where power crews could go on out. But that's going to take some time for them to do it. Here's storm reports. These are over the last 36 hours. So what you see here are the tornado symbols. There were actually 12 tornado reports, but those were technically yesterday, and those were all in southeastern Florida, in Miami-Dade, Broward, and West Palm Beach counties. So we did not have any tornadoes or funnel clouds in our area. I'll tighten this up a little bit here. Now, we do have these symbols that look like a hurricane. Those are just reports of hurricane force winds, and the other ones are tropical storm force winds. But there's one that has the specific data attached to it here, and that was at Grove City in Charlotte County. That was a 110 mile per hour wind gust that hit with that particular part of the storm. Let's take you to the rainfall. We'll kind of buzz through this one a little bit here. It's loading. There we go. So in that area between Venice and Englewood, we're up to 18.5 inches of rain. The area here around Northport, 10.5. Up toward Osprey, 10.5. And this is a Doppler radar estimate, of course. Punta Gorda, 7. Arcadia, almost 5. Wauchula, over 5. Lakewood Ranch, 6.6. Around Sarasota, Siesta Key, 7.9. Now, that's a little higher number than what we're seeing in some of the rain gauges, but the rain gauge reports are, frankly, quite spotty for us. Get up toward Bradenton, around 4.4 inches. So the rainfall is lesser amount of rain farther to the north because this storm has been so far to the south. I'll add on here for you around Parrish, 5.5. And, yeah. The rain is not over. Several more inches of rain to come in all of our areas. It'll be massive flooding. You're not going to be able to go anywhere tomorrow anyway, so don't even think about it. Just plan on staying inside. If you don't have power, just make the most of it. We have my house, we have a hand crank radio.
All right, you have been watching coverage from WWSB of Hurricane Ian, of course, making landfall as a Category 4 storm. We're going to check out right now. Governor DeSantis is speaking, and it looks like WWSB is maybe going to his coverage as well. So let's hear the latest from the governor as Hurricane Ian makes landfall in Florida.
But by and large, until the storm passes, they are not going to go into a situation for rescue and put their own folks at risk. And so we know that there are folks who are in the really high risk zone A evacuation zones who did not evacuate. Some have called in, and those people are being logged, and there will be a response, but it's likely going to take a little time for this storm to move forward so that it's safe for the first responders to be able to do. We are getting reports, but it's going to take a little bit more time to know exactly in terms of structural damage, but we are getting some reports of structural damage in both Lee and Charlotte counties, but I would say overwhelmingly, it's been that surge that has been the biggest issue and the flooding that has resulted as a result of that. In some areas, we think it's hit 12 feet. Now, it is our meteorologists' view that the storm surge has likely peaked and will likely, be less in the coming hours than it has been up to this point. But we know that this has been a big storm, and it's done a lot of damage as it is. It is going to continue to move through the state of Florida. You're going to see hurricane force winds in places in central Florida, perhaps. It's clearly a very strong tropical storm all the way until it exits the Florida Peninsula in the Atlantic Ocean. There are, as much as we're focused on Southwest Florida, very important, obviously, when you have a storm of this nature. I think at landfall, it's going to be behind only the Labor Day hurricane, Hurricane Andrew, and Hurricane Michael in terms of intensity. I think we're going to end up seeing that. It may end up being a Category 5, but at a minimum, it's going to be a very strong Category 4 that's going to rank as one of the top 5 hurricanes to ever hit the Florida Peninsula. So that damage is ongoing. It's very, very important. But the fact is, there's going to be damage throughout the whole state, and people in other parts of the state, be prepared for some impacts. And you are seeing counties in different parts of the state issue evacuation orders. Clay County in Northeast Florida, which we do anticipate some major flooding events in Northeast Florida. I think folks that are familiar with the St. Johns River know that when you have weather like this, you will see this. And so Clay County has issued mandatory evacuations of low-lying areas along the St. Johns River. Flagler County has issued mandatory evacuations of its barrier islands, low-lying areas, and mobile homes. Nassau has issued evacuation orders for low-lying areas. St. Johns County is evacuating coastal and low-lying areas, including the city of St. Augustine, as well as the city of St. Augustine Beach. Putnam County has recommended evacuation for low-lying areas and areas that have a history of flooding, and Sumter County is advising evacuations of mobile homes. And so those are places that are hundreds and hundreds of miles away from the initial impact in Southwest Florida, and yet they are having to evacuate folks that are living in vulnerable areas. We have over 1.1 million reported power outages. Now, there are crews that are still working outside of Southwest Florida, but just understand that number is going to grow. You're going to see more power outages as this storm moves through the center part of our state and before it exits into the Atlantic coast. There are 100 portable cell phone towers ready to be deployed into Southwest Florida once it is safe to enter, and should that be needed. We want to make sure people are staying out of the way of emergency crews and out of floodwaters and away from all down power lines. As soon as emergency crews can get in, they are going to get in. As soon as it's safe to go and clear the roadways, Florida Department of Transportation is going to go in and clear those roadways. These are all on standby. They are ready to go. They understand the importance of a really, really quick response. As I mentioned earlier today, we have now officially sent the letter with the request to the Biden administration for a major disaster declaration for all 67 counties, requesting the federal government do 100% reimbursement up front for 60 days to ensure that we can quickly move forward into this response and recovery phase. And I know sometimes they wait till different damage assessments are made, but in this situation, you've got a massive Category 4 storm that if there's a need for other stuff, Kevin and his team will work. FEMA, all these other groups can work to provide that. But if you provide money to some volunteer organizations and charity groups, they can make a big impact in people's lives. And if you're willing to volunteer your time, there's going to be ways you can be put to work, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to need help on the back end of this thing. So if you want to contribute, you can go to floridadisasterfund.org or text disaster to 20222. For those who want to come and volunteer, we have an official volunteer portal at Volunteer Florida, www.volunteerflorida.org, to find volunteer opportunities. This storm is doing a number on the state of Florida. It is going to continue to move through this state today and through much of tomorrow. And there's going to continue to be a number of adverse effects. I can tell you that as soon as it moves beyond Southwest Florida, you're going to see a massive surge of personnel and supplies to be able to help those who are in need, get people back on their feet, and help to rebuild those communities. Kevin?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Governor. think everybody should know that the governor is extremely committed to being involved in this response, and he was here with me till late last night, and he was here with me early this morning, and he has not been anywhere but very near me the entire time. So, Governor, thank you so much for your leadership in that area. I mean, it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to the leadership. As the governor said, Hurricane Ian has made landfall this afternoon as a Category 4. Winds of 155 miles an hour. I'm not going to read all the statistics that the governor's mentioned, but I'll bring a couple of new ones here. 1,100 resource requests have been we've received 1,100 resource requests. We have fulfilled 900 of those. Again, the difference of the 200 is stuff that we just cannot get out on the road right now. We're working as quickly as possible to address those needs. We have well over 200 shelters open. We have 42,000 restoration personnel. We literally have, with first responders across the state and additional ones coming in, there's well over 10,000 responders statewide ready to do stuff. As the storm makes its way across Florida, I remind Floridians to stay indoors if you're in the path of the storm. If you're sheltering in place in the path of a storm and you still have power and Wi-Fi, please visit floridadisaster.org/info to fill out our shelter-in-place survey. We've had a lot of people answer that and give us that information. That helps us provide critical information to first responders about the demographics of your household so that they can aid your family as soon as possible. Please keep in mind that first responders may not be able to immediately enter impacted areas to assist you due to the safety hazards. We'll say we are planning a 3-prong response to handle that specific issue. We have personnel staged to come in via ground, via vehicles. We have personnel staged to come in via air with aerial deployed search and rescue assets. And then we also have the Coast Guard and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission ready to come in by sea for those barrier islands and beachfront properties. So we will have a response mechanism that involves all 3 of those arms. Shelter-in-place survey, again, I just reiterated, is floridadisaster.org/info. If you need immediate assistance, please dial 911. That site is not a replacement for 911. If it is calm outside, you may be in the eye of the storm. As the eye of the storm continues to move inland, is getting ready to enter areas such as Hendry County, Glades County, do not go outside if all of a sudden the wind stops. In this situation, that means you're in the eye of the hurricane. Seek shelter immediately, get into an interior room, and protect yourself. Do not walk or drive through flooded areas. Floodwaters can stall your car and sweep you and your car away in the blink of an eye. We received reports of isolated tornadoes across east central Florida. If you're in a tornado warning, again, seek an interior room free of windows. Get low and put something over the top of your head to protect yourself. If a tornado warning, self-deployments. We do not want individuals self-deploying out on their own. That is very, very dangerous. Leave that to the professionals that are trained in how to do that. Do not take your personal boat out in these situations. We do not want to have to respond to yet another problem. The governor mentioned there are more deaths as a result of indirect situations than the actual direct situation of storm surge wind at the beginning of a storm. So please, what we want you to do more than anything else is stay safe. Please be careful out there. Again, Governor, thank you.
Do we have the Cajun Navy? They're on the way, right?
There are reports that they are on the way.
So I think the Cajun Navy is on the way, and okay, there we go. I mean, look, we really welcome. I mean, those are some really battle-hardened folks, and so Florida welcomes their support, and honestly, particularly Louisiana, because they've dealt with so much, and so the governor's been great. And look, we've got a long way to go before this storm exit the state, and there's going to be a lot of need to get into these communities, particularly in Southwest Florida, and offer the immediate assistance. But I do think the three-pronged strategy, where you're going in by ground, air, and by sea, means that all hands are on deck, and there's going to be people that are going to be in harm's way. And what I've said is, the folks were told in these areas of the hazards. They were given time to be able to make arrangements and to leave. Some chose not to do that. They would have probably been better off doing that. Nevertheless, if people are in harm's way, we're going to go and do whatever we can to help those folks. And so that is going to, those operations are going to commence as soon as it's safe to do so. Certainly, I would say, no later than first thing in the morning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no later. As soon as it's light outside and people are able to do it, and then it begins with the clearing the roads, making sure that the electrical folks can get in there. I was able to thank a number of these linemen. We went over to Lake City, where a number of them are staged. These are great folks. They're coming from all across the country. I mean, I met people from Alabama, from Texas, from Louisiana. They're all coming to Florida. When we were driving back to Tallahassee from Lake City, I saw this beautiful sight of all these electrical vehicles coming where they had all the electrical equipment on, and these are folks that are going to help put people's power back on. It was just a procession of them. So we talked about 42,000. I'll bet you after today there's probably going to be significantly even more. So you really are seeing just a great logistical effort to put all hands on deck in this response. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, Governor, you mentioned getting calls from people who have not evacuated, calls for help. About how many calls people were we talking about here?
Kevin, you want to take that?
So right now, I don't want to give you a solid number because it'd be a guess. I know earlier today we had the initial report was 21, and then we, because of the 911 issues in that Southwest Florida area, we had one small rural county that was answering calls for the larger county, saying that they had hundreds of calls. So I can't really quantify that right now, but just go off the words that the emergency management directors at the local level told me. Sorry.
Yes.
Have you spoken to the president at all about getting that 100% coverage? I mean, has he? I know there's a lot of folks out there who are pushing for Florida to get that % coverage, but I know. So
when we spoke yesterday, I mean, he said, all hands on deck, that he wants to be helpful, and he said, ask whatever you need, ask us. So he was inviting us to request support, and so that we think that this is probably the best thing that we can get at this juncture, given what we're dealing with, and so hopefully we'll get a favorable response on that.
Yeah. Mr. Guthrie mentioned this earlier, but this is obviously a big flooding event, and a lot of these places might not have flood insurance. Do you have a sense of, how exposed a lot of these people are who don't have coverage from flood insurance?
Not yet, but I think the issue is significant in the sense that these are not people that necessarily live in a, quote, flood zone. They live and they're asked, the realtor says, you're not in a flood zone. Well, they're not going to get the flood insurance. And I totally understand why people don't do that. But just because you're not in a, quote, flood zone does not mean that you're not at risk of
anyone out to help them. What kind of advice can you give them over the phone? What are those conversations looking like upstairs right now? So we have an excellent team. They're highly trained professionals. They are also triaging the calls they come in. They have a medical professional up there that once the calls come in, the type of the calls can triage and try to provide that assistance over the phone. Last question? All right, so for our community members, we want you right now to stay where you are, ride out the storm, wait for your local officials to let you know that it's safe to return. We need those roadways to stay clear so that our tactical first-in teams can get in there, assess the damage, and we can start clearing the roadways, start repairing the damage, and for our community to recover. If you have any questions, please call 311. We have team members standing by 24/7 to answer your calls. If you're outside Sarasota County, you can also try 941-861-5000. Continue to visit the website if you still have power, scgov.net, and also follow us on social media at SRQ County Gov. Take care and stay safe. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
You were just listening there to a press conference from the Sarasota County Emergency Operations Center, and they were talking about those tactical teams getting ready, but they can't go out, Nerissa, until it's under 45 miles per hour for at least 30 minutes. So it's still going to be a while here before they're going to be able to go out, clear roadways, and do what they have to do.
And another reason why they want to stay, when the winds go down, they want to keep people off the roads.
Right.
So don't, as soon as you get the all clear, don't all get out in your cars at once, because there is work to be done with emergency crews and making the roads safe. Just because the storm is over doesn't mean that it's over.
Some of the major danger really is after the storm that you don't even see. All right. We've got to get over to meteorologist Mike Modrick.
Right behind me. Or in front of me now. The magic of TV.
You know, think about all of the people who have moved here in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And this is the first hurricane they've been through. Actually, if somebody's just moved here in the last 5 or 10 years, this is the first storm of this type they've experienced. So if you're from the north and you're just going through this for the first time, it's like a blizzard, but without the snow. You don't have to shovel anything, but you still don't go out after the storm is over. You can't. It's just here you've got water. You've got flooding water that you don't want to walk through. You don't want to drive through. Give it some time to ease into the drainages that we all have, because it's going to drain into the bay, drain into the Gulf eventually. But this
protection and hurricane lingo to survive these storms, and hopefully this has helped a little bit.
And get prepared as soon as possible, because I'm sure a lot of us, you know, we just waited to the last minute.
You get complacent. You're like, and you hear that a lot on the street. They're like, is it really coming? And I'm like,
I know.
Well,
even for meteorologists that are covering, it's like, okay, we're saying all this stuff, we're seeing all the data, but we're never really sure. It seems like, but then when it hits and you start to get these reports, you know, it really did hit, and it really did hit with a vengeance down south.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
All right, Bob, thank you so much. And talking about this live action that we're seeing, we're going to take a live look at the roads right now, where hopefully no one is on them. And we're taking a look here at I-75 North. This is at mile marker 203, right there near Clark Road. And every once in a while, if you keep looking really close to the screen, you see those squalls, those really strong winds coming through, and those trees out there just battling against those winds. So it's definitely no place to be.
No. Very uncomfortable. It's just hard to believe, you know, like we're getting through the hurricane season. We still have like another month. It's November 30th. Two months because it's Bob Harrigan's birthday when it all ends.
Okay.
So it's a double celebration. So hopefully Mother Nature will give us a break for the next couple of months, because this is probably worth 3.
There's a lot to clean up from.
Right.
So
but the silver lining, there's a silver lining when natural disasters like this happen, so catastrophic, you know, the community comes together, people from out of state, and they come in to help. And ABC 7's Jace Harper shows us a look at one cleanup crew that's actually coming from Virginia to help.
With the hurricane clocking winds upward of 100 miles per hour and massive storm surges, one crew is making plans to help clean up Ian's destruction. God's Pit Crew from Danville, Virginia, is gearing up to send a group of volunteers to aid those affected. This team has been on the scene of major disasters like Hurricane Katrina, flooding in Kentucky, and the disastrous wake of Fiona in Puerto Rico. According to Suzanne Honeycutt, their mission is to show those in need that there's somebody who cares.
It looks like there sadly will be people who've lost everything, but sometimes just knowing there's someone there to help, offering hope and a hug and a smile and tangible help with their home, with a bucket full of supplies, with a generator, we're really hoping that that can make a difference.
Honeycutt says they're hoping to have a crew with boots on the ground starting Sunday. Jace Harper, ABC 7, your local station.
And right now, we're grateful first and foremost that so many from across the country are going to come here. So thank you so much. We're going to need all the help. But there is something we should know about as we start to talk about the power outages that we're seeing. Manatee County tweeting not too long ago that numerous lift stations are now without power. So assume if you're without power, that lift station that is also supplying what you need for your home is also not working. And this is the reason why they're asking, you know, to be careful with how much water you're using. And that goes for showering and flushing toilets and things like that.
Yeah, you have to, it's conserve. Even though you're stuck at home, conserve, because if you're using a lot, somebody else is using a lot, everyone's using a lot, and then we're all in trouble. So, all right, let's get to Mike Modrick now with an update.
You know, there's a phrase, I heard this first in California in the 1970s, because they have droughts in California. And when they have a drought, they have to conserve water. And the catchphrase is, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. But only if you've got some water.
You just took me back to 7th grade.
Well, it's another rhyme I've got for you. That's what I'm known for. I've got a county-by-county breakdown now of these power outages. So right now, as the latest, in Manatee County, 122,000 people without power, 52% of the customers served. In Sarasota County, it's 232,000 people without power, 81% of the county without power. So that is significant. Now, in Charlotte County, to the south of Sarasota County, 124,000 people, 98%. And in Lee County, which is to the south, 446,000 people without power. That is 95% for them. And then we get into Hardy and DeSoto counties, 5,400 people without power in Hardy County at this point, 57%. DeSoto County already over 17,000 people without
In from Bradenton Riverwalk around 5:45, just a little less than an hour ago.
Yeah, and you hear that wind whistling from Alan Cohen. Tidewater Preserve in Bradenton. That's not too far from the water, but check out those palm fronds just bracing against those strong wind gusts there, and you can see the sheets of rain.
Nice view, but it's very dramatic right now.
Oh, this is another shot. Oh, I think this is another shot. Ooh,
yeah, look at that. We're going to jump to this one. Obviously, wind damage, and then we have this tree falls on a bedroom roof. Can you imagine if you were sleeping in bed and feeling that? Sherwood Forest and Bahia Vista. Did I say that?
Yeah, Bahia Vista, yes.
Bahia Vista and McIntosh Road. This is in Sarasota.
And some of these big trees, it's always so scary to think they could snap like that, and this one did.
Oh, wow.
Wow, a viewer sending in this photo, a tree breaking through their pool cage. This is off Palmer Road, not far from the celery fields, just east of I-75. That is some severe damage there, and that's going to be a hefty repair.
And we're not done yet. This video sent in by a viewer from a condo on the Manatee River in Bradenton. High winds and heavy rains again pouring down as Hurricane Ian continues moving ahead.
And we've got some footage here from Mark O'Keefe showing off his backyard there in Proctor Road, not far from Riverview High School. You can see the winds there. Those trees they look like they're ready to snap. And hopefully any of that patio furniture, that patio awning there won't go anywhere, but
looks like they got the patio furniture off, which is good.
Right.
And here is the last video we want to show you just this hour, this half hour. Video showing harsh weather and flooding in Bradenton. All proof that this is serious. So, you know, shelter in place. I can't say that enough. Can't say it enough. Shelter in place. You don't need to be out in those elements.
Exactly.
We're showing you the video.
Right.
Stay at home.
Stay at home.
Spend time with your family. Do some stuff around the house and stay away from those windows.
Right. Well, when we talk about riding the storm here, we know a lot of us watching Ian's path, we've been deliberating whether we should go north or south in the last few days, especially as it wobbled its way over to us, and whether or not we should evacuate. So that's a big thing that a lot of people were looking
carrying them.
Be able to be a sound structure.
In a storm, surrounded by those closest to them, embracing for reality when they return home.
Ooh. Thank you, Michaela. Yeah, hunkering down in Venice.
All right, you have been watching coverage from WWSB in Sarasota, Florida, covering Hurricane Ian as it has made landfall a few hours ago. It seems that we have maybe lost a little bit of their signal, so we are going to continue to work on trying to get that signal back. And in the meantime, let's bring it back here into the local news live studio. And many people still without power. 1.3 million people now in Florida without power. Many of them also evacuated ahead of Ian making landfall. Let's go out to one of our stations who followed up with some evacuees from Florida, and they headed north up to Georgia. Let's check in with them.
Well, I spoke with several people today who are traveling from Florida, and most tell me this is not their first rodeo. They lived through Hurricane Irma, which they describe to be one of Florida's most powerful and impactful storms. So they tell me they didn't want to take any chances with Hurricane Ian. Greg Daniel oversees 5 of the 13 hotels in the Tifton area. He says hotels in Tifton, Valdosta, and Cordele are booked up. As of now, they are calling other hotels further north, like in the Macon and Atlanta area, to check their availability, which he says is filling up pretty quickly.
There's always cancellations. As the storm turns and moves, we get cancellation, but as soon as we get cancellations, we're getting other people call in. So it's really just filling what was already sold.
Michael Skip traveled from Ohio to pick up his disabled brother and sister from Lake City, Florida, to bring them to a hotel in Tifton. His sister was a victim of Hurricane Irma and lost everything. They tell me they didn't want to take any chances.
I wasn't going to play after Hurricane Ian. I wasn't going to play.
They don't have a vehicle. None of them have their driver's license. So the only option for them was a middle school. So I'm like, I got you.
Experts say more than 2 million Floridians were under an evacuation warning Tuesday as Hurricane Ian moved closer to the state's west coast. Daniel says the faster people book their rooms during these intense weather conditions, the more likely they will have guarantees.
The later they wait, the harder it is, if not impossible, to find rooms. In the past, we literally have went to the Tennessee line to try to find rooms.
Ahead at 5, Floridians experienced traveling from the sunny state to the friendly city, and why one man is actually traveling back to Florida in the midst of the storm with his wife. Alicia Lewis, WAOB, your hometown news source.
All right, lots of people making their way out of Florida just to be safe up to the Georgia area. Thanks again to our station. Hurricane Ian, will it affect East Tennessee? Our station WVLT did an informational session earlier today, kind of talking about that as well. So as we work on making sure that we can get you the updated forecast, let's send you out to their coverage.
It's the end of the week and into the weekend, bringing rain, winds, clouds, really just kind of gloomy and soggy conditions. Here's kind of a look at that radar and cloud track right now, and then we got a live look. I think it's down a little bit closer to about Naples, Florida area. You can see just how windy, and these are just the outer bands, as the eye has not made landfall yet. So the outer bands is what's affecting Florida right now. Let's go ahead and get into our graphics here, and we are going to kind of track this out for Florida and track this out for us here in East Tennessee as well. So here's a loop over the past about 3 hours here. You can see those outer bands really just hitting the Fort Myers area. Again, this is kind of that western, southern, western coast of Florida here, really near Fort Myers. It is a Category 4 hurricane. It's a